2060の第3次世界大戦終戦だが、鉄血孤独性 AI 及び戦術人形の全面的暴走世界がまた大ピンチに陥った。これはフィリピン民間軍事会社に所属するドールズの奮闘を描く物語。はずだったんだ。よろしくお願いします。请多指教。おやすみ。晚安。ありがとう。谢谢。どういたしまして。優秀。そういえば、話说回来，本当に真的可以吗？そうですか。怎么样？どうしよう。怎么办？すみません。对不起哦。さよなら。再见了。お疲れ様です。辛苦了。这是什么？何もないですね。什么东西都没有。見つけた。本当に楽しかった。真的很开心的。おかえり。谢谢惠顾。秘密兵器出動。綺麗だね。好漂亮啊。もちもちですね。有感哦。好きです。3倍。我的现在准备好了。这是个什么？为什么变店长？这个最难的有名了喵。いじめたに好巧妙。経験。好game。飛行機。優先。入部作戦。上々レース。但是之前从天来宾花费钱上天线。それではここからが本題。有効でした这还是无解。やっぱり有効でが一番だよ。无解果然对我厉害了。こんな時こそ私の出番ですわ。这时候就需要我登場了。スピード勝負負けないよ。只是速度我可不会输。彼女の魂はまだきらめいているじゃないか。她的灵魂依然在散发光芒。出し切ろうぜ。一日反省しなさい。你还是在听历史反省一天吧。さあ直立つくさらだ。爬上了。誰がぺたんこだって。それでは本日の番組はここまで。また見てくださいね。
Unmute myself right now. Hopefully everything is going through properly. I'm going to give it a couple seconds to hear how everything is going right now. And I'm just going to just wait for this is the obligatory stream just started, and let's make sure we work out all the audio issues real quick first. I think everything is going well on my side, but no audio. Okay, I'm hearing no audio. That's not good. There we go. Okay, never mind. Now there we go. That's good. Perfect. Yeah, before I introduce our guest here, I'm gonna make sure I say happy Halloween, everyone. Hope you all are enjoying yourselves and having a fun day today. It's one of those wonderful times where, it's a spooky time of the year. So what better idea to do than talk about spooky firearms? That being said, though, is our wonderful guest host in this situation was just finishing doing his own little spooky thing himself, too, where he teach people your own stuff. I'll let you pimp that out first, because I do like the idea of what you guys do anyways with Unseen, so I'm going to let you be unmuted and go ahead and introduce yourself and talk about where you just came from, by the way.
Right on. I appreciate that. Yep, so I'm UberClay, and I am the beta manager over at the catalog, and I have been helping Unseen Killer teach some Fusion CAD in Gun Academy, which we try to do most Fridays. We have tonight I was teaching the beginner class, but it's a free class that you can come attend on Discord. We usually run several different classes, when we have class. So for different skill levels, we always try to have a beginner class. So, if you've never tried your hand at modeling or CAD and you're something you're interested in, hit us up and come check us out.
Well, no, that's great. And in all honesty, it's always important. I mean, after all, people might, or at least on this channel, people should know you from the other guy I do all the beta stuff with. And yes, I understand that there was not one this month. We're going to do a double feature for next month. Keep us nice up to date. So, no, this is, I guess, a little bit of your consolation prize to a fun little Halloween-themed, I guess, stream of the day. But, you know, that kind of goes into a little bit of this of, a lot of things have definitely changed from the beginning of the year as well. when it comes to the printed gun stuff and everything. I feel like for a while it was almost like a little bit of silence when it comes in the media aspect of things. We really didn't see much. Then the Mangione thing happened, and despite like really, it was less about the printed gun part of it, more firearms in general and all these other things. And now, like recently, somewhere around like August, but I want to say like September, she started seeing some articles drop about a lot of things. And just recently, we had another one pop up. I guess the common theme with a lot of these are going to be, if it's Europe, they're going to bring up, I guess, Stark stuff, but I guess they're going to always bring up this Raza article that always comes up to, I guess, Stark being an incel, or they use these 4chan posts and some special linguistic algorithms that will basically the anonymous man named 4chan sort of figures some things out. Ultimately, I guess their whole point is that 3D printed guns are inherently bad and evil because an incel was the one that helped make them, and you should never touch them again because an incel did something. Okay, great. I mean, all right, if that's what's going to stop you from building a gun, then I'm afraid there ain't really much I can do for you at that point. But
yeah, that's ridiculous, man. I mean, I read that article, and it was, I mean, hypothetical is putting it mildly. The fact that it gets touted as being fact or reliable is laughable. I mean, I could come up with some kind of study and make a similar assessment and present it as fact. That doesn't make it true.
Well, I mean, the bigger thing too is like, even if it, like, again, we can play the whole game too. Let's say it all is true. Of like, okay, all the stuff about Stark is 100% true. What does that change about the FGC9 altogether? Like, what about it has it changed? And that's like my favorite thing about open source and all the other stuff about like that specific side of like completely fully DIY things. The step files for the FGC9 are out there. I mean, both of you and me being involved in the beta stuff. You remember the old Triton, the thing that Riptide made? That is basically an updated version of the FGC9 using the files it has there. If you don't like the guy who made it, or you disagree with their politics, or I guess whether they could get laid or not, then you could pretty much just redesign it in your own way and build it by someone that you consider a good person. Great, now it doesn't matter anymore. That entire sticking point is gone. That is the joy of open source and the joy of, I guess, the old FOSCAD, which is another thing I guess we kind of missed in a little bit of a few months ago. FOSCAD got nuked and was completely destroyed. I think
wasn't that something?
I think that is so. If you guys look at the descriptions, I think we have 3 articles in here. There are specifically, it is a Bloomberg article. Let me pull this up real quick so everyone can see what I'm reading. So it's not just me talking to a blank screen real fast. So we have 3 articles. We have a Bloomberg article. This is the most recent one, the J Starks Incel one. We have the Facebook one, which I'm going to put my bold case in. I'm going to say this is what got moderator Gage banned off of Twitter, and I am going to say that this also I think this is kind of what led FOSCAD to be banned as well. And then one that kind of just like dropped not too long ago either. That was just about, this one is just your basic one of the Boston Globe talking about, gun safety advocates, whatever. Cool. It gives us at least 3 things to talk about. But this one in particular is more interesting to me. This is our Forbes one. We'll go into this one in a second. But this one kind of almost is like a overview from a person that isn't a member of the community, kind of looking at where 3D printed guns are, but only looking at Facebook and like everywhere else, which is interesting actually. Because like, I guess the only one that was willing to talk to them was Gage. And this is my whole thing about this too. If a journalist comes to talk to you about, hey, I hear that you're part of this weird fun or fringe terrorist organization thing, can you tell me more about it? You might be able to think like, as a normal person, like, oh yeah, you misunderstanding me. No, we're just usually just a bunch of guys that are cool, doing some cool things. And you might try to pin them up and try to talk about these cool stuff. Chances are they're not gonna care, and it's just gonna go to peace. A fun little story, and this is gonna be, I'm not sure if this has been brought up publicly or not, but if it is, I'll just do it now. Hopefully I don't get in trouble by anyone that says this, but there was a fun this is a little special secret that I guess I'm going to break here from a previous shot show. Let's just say there was a hint of journalists from Vice coming to a certain range day where they were going to talk about guns and printed guns. And let's just say, hypothetically, these people ended up having their opinions changed. And their opinions got changed, and their hit piece changed into a not hit piece. And you know what happened to those fuckers?
What happened?
They got fired. The story never got read, the documentary never got read, and they got fired.
Wow. Well, I know that's kind of what I've seen is that, I mean, you know, Gage, I thought got off really easy on that. Most of the time, if you take the time to talk to somebody, you know, they're going to turn around and just completely flame you, and you're not going to, you know, you'll never get a fair shake. So, while that article wasn't overtly negative, it was, you know, there's some that I didn't necessarily like the tone of it, but I do remember thinking to myself when I read it that, you know, that was, I mean, they could have really flamed everyone in the community, but they, you know, it was a little bit restrainative in that regard. But it, you know, it probably did affect the. I mean, it could have very well resulted in the ban off of X. You know.
I mean, again, you know, things have changed a lot, especially when it comes to Twitter. You know, as they, I guess, want us to say very harshly, is it's X now. I guess whatever. The point is that, you know, it's changed a lot. Bans are a lot harder to get nowadays. But, you know, it was interesting that happened, and then Foscat got banned, and sort of like, you know, just one thing after the other, which is really odd. I mean, the Foscat one is more interesting to me. Of like Foscat. I'll be the first to say I didn't really browse Foscat that much. I only browse Foscat to laugh at it every now and then because it was just some of the most atrocious builds I've ever seen in my life, ever. Just people that didn't read readmes or just like untested random garbage stuff. That being said, though, is I think, you know, there was a lot of people that were claiming, I guess, you know, ownership of that too. There was just some literal who guy. I think he did something kind of cool where he was doing like Safariland clones, and then for some reason was like super like Safariland clones with 3D printers. Then he like flipped for some reason, saying 3D printer stuff is bad, and I got Foscat banned. I don't think he did. I think he was just like some random guy who just
no, that was bait.
Yeah, it was 100.
I saw that. I saw that. That was fucking bait.
I think I don't think it was necessarily. I think he wanted to believe it himself that he did it. I just don't think he actually was. I think he was like, yes, I knew my report finally came in. I was like, you weren't. I don't think you were the actual guy that did that.
Yeah, he had sour grape. He had a bunch of sour grapes about something. You know, like people didn't pay him enough attention or whatever. So he said he, you know, was going in and reporting everybody. I mean, honestly, man, if that's your, I mean, you know, if that's what you walk away with, you know, maybe printing guns ain't for you, man. You know?
Yeah, I was like, yeah, pat yourself on the back, Bucko. Sure, buddy. Like, yeah, I bet you did it. You did a big thing. All right, man. You did something.
Shit.
Cool. I think also too, the new, I guess, DefCAD lawsuit too. Careful, I'm gonna be careful how I say that. I'm gonna be as much as an outside observer. God forbid I get a fucking summons in the mail. But you know. I know that they dropped that case with like the catalog, Matt and Pew and Ivan and all those guys. They dropped it and then did a new one where they were basically claiming Foscat was breaking like ITAR as well, and like Foscat was bad. But Foscat was like, and people started believing that one too because Foscat was banned off of Reddit for I think one of their terms of service, which is basically selling firearms. Rule 7, which is selling firearms, and that's exactly like a few weeks beforehand. And that was like what DefCAD was accusing of Foscat of doing, of selling firearms and stuff. Which, I mean, was usually free, but I don't really browse Foscat enough, so I'm not going to argue with anything of that. So that's the other possibility.
That's absolutely plausible. I mean, we don't know, but I do know that you know the other one. You know, the other side of that lawsuit is very very prone to going scorched earth, and you know, I think, that could be. There's no telling, but that's plausible. It could be absolutely, part of what's going on. I thought it was shocking myself just because, Reddit, Foscat in particular, has been so hyper retarded for so long that it's like, what on earth could they possibly have done to get banned? Because everything is already pretty much, like I've seen and heard and read stuff over the years that it's just like, what, this unbelievable. And, I can't imagine that, they finally crossed the Rubicon, right? Like that was very bizarre to me. Nothing on Reddit recent, right just before they got banned was even close to some of the most shocking things that probably have been posted on there in the last, 5 years or whatever. So, it was interesting that somebody finally pulled the trigger. It probably had to do with something regulatory. I don't know. I mean, you see they claim that they're petitioning the printers or the printer companies and the slicer softwares to try to do stuff about curbing the
epidemic.
What we can print. And I mean it gets kind of laughable because I think that that's really not realistic, but you get enough Karens on the phone, working for the New York AG or something, and maybe somebody got a hold of somebody at Reddit that was important enough to told them they need to shut it down. I don't know.
Well, to go back to, I guess, for like a who done it of who banned the Foscat subreddit. I mean, compared to like some dude who had sour grapes that was like the first to say I did it. I would say the Def Cat suit would probably be a much more likely of like I can kind of see it. I guess. Yeah. That being said, I think Def Cat then like immediately came out when people were pointing the finger of, hey, this is kind of odd, isn't it, that you guys claimed this not too long ago, and then the Foscat subreddit got banned exactly for this exact reason that you were claiming them of having doing. They said, oh, these the RICO terrorists and all this other stuff were actually peddling some false lies. Like, okay, but all right, like I guess. Yeah, like, okay, buddy. Like, sure, okay. So perhaps it's not them.
Most ridiculous shit.
Perhaps it's not them. Okay, let's just go with that. And in that case, now the only other possibility I could have would be possibly journalists, and that I don't know. Like, I think even our gun deals and all those other people have had issues where because again, Reddit was there was some good things of Reddit. I know, crazy thing, but there were some good things about Reddit where people would sell used like gun stuff and gun parts, and I think that got curved. Some like our gun deals and all these other things were basically saying you can't do that anymore. Yeah, could be that. But
I mean, I was getting really frustrated with Foscad this year, especially because I don't know if the mods were like getting pissed at me or didn't like I did. One of the mods didn't like me or whatever. But I could hardly ever get a post through, and they would always be like kicking posts back on technicalities. So I got to where like I was like would kind of skim through there, but I wasn't posting very much, and it's like every time I try to post something, it would get kicked back, and I just got kind of fatigued about trying to, DM the mods and be like, why? Okay, why'd you kick my post back this time? And honestly, it'd just be all it was a picture of a freaking gun I printed or a picture of a gun that I assembled and, or something that I was had developed that wasn't released or, maybe wasn't very known about, and nothing controversial in other words, and it would just always get kicked back. And so I don't know. I kind of started. I mean, I get it. People are sympathetic and nostalgic about Foscat. It's been around a long time, but
did you forget about the Foscat IRC? I mean, that still exists.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, there's Shitnator, said they moved an archive of it somewhere. I haven't. I saw it, but I haven't gone and like checked it out. I just kind of, it for at least the last year, it's been touch and go. I mean, there's some cool posts on there, and definitely some historical knowledge, and some stuff that is worth preserving. But that was really surprising. It's just been around for so long, and there's been times it's been so hyper retarded that for it to finally get the ban hammer was like, I just didn't think it was ever going to happen. You know, it was whatever. I don't know. You know, it's a sign of the times, I guess.
I mean, that's the big thing about FOSCAD was it was a really crucial part of the beginning of everything, and you know, it's an interesting place, at least historically wise, and like it kind of, I mean, there wasn't like FOSCAD was probably, I guess, the most like umbrella group of everything in one way, like, if you could think of it like that. Of it was just printed guns. And that in of itself was something cool. I think for those of you guys who don't know, Shitnator is the guy who does the gun. I think it's the gun index, GunCat index.
GunCat index, yeah. GunCatIndex.com. It's a search engine that fixes Odyssey's hyper fucked search function, and that's where you want to go to search for any printed gun that you're looking for. You need to go to GunCatIndex.com. And you can type it in, and it's probably been the biggest game changer this year in the community. That single thing. Now he's also got a forum that he just opened up. That's when FOSCAD got shut down. That you can create an account for, and it's not really a replacement for FOSCAD, but it's a interesting. I don't know what you want to call it, a community space.
It's a community space, yeah. I would say that's like, because again, the thing about FOSCAD that made it unique was like it was a special like thing where no one was necessarily like a part of a community. It was just more of like a 3D printed gun space, I guess. It's not like a matrix chat or anything for specific groups. It was just like the chat you go.
Right. And you'd have people on FOSCAD that weren't active on other social media platforms. And so, it was a interesting, diverse group. But anyways, that's the Shitnator, supposedly they had a full archive of FOSCAD going back to July or maybe August of this year that they stood up somewhere else. And I couldn't tell you exactly where that is. If you go to gunindex.com and poke around, you'll find it.
And I would say, the gun index is, again, a very, very, it's probably one of the biggest things in 3D printed gun space that is unique, that is different, that's been nice. Basically, it's, just some guy who amalgamated all the basically printed gun files from Odyssey and sort of makes it a much more easy to search base. And, I mean, Odyssey is great and wonderful, but their search features are quite literally atrocious. And unless you know exactly specifically what you're looking for, it's going to be a challenge. And even still, you're better off with just a link directly. So having that, basically someone went out of their way to, I guess, fix the Odyssey search feature really is what the best way I can describe it. But
it's brilliant. They've got over, I mean, I don't even know. The last time I looked, I want to say it was like 5,000 Odyssey accounts or something, but I mean, they basically got the entirety of GunCAD, other than a couple of outliers that were being obstinate about wanting to be listed. Looking at you, are we cool yet?
We were going to say it? Okay. Yeah, okay.
But everybody else's pages are easily findable. And, he really did a great job. It's a stellar job, and solved one of the bigger issues in the community, which was Odyssey search function. It's just broken. It doesn't fucking work. And so GunCat Index solves that, and solves it in a brilliant, effective, simple way. So check them out if you don't know about them.
Yeah, no, that's, at least if anything, we can, before we get into anything, is I would say GunCat Index, if you guys don't know, because that's something, it's not necessarily a beta, so we don't really, I haven't had the chance to talk too much about it in this channel so far, but it is probably the biggest advancement in, I guess, just it's a weird advancement where it's not necessarily, it's not a cool design or like a functioning thing, but it is like the best software like update to everything of like I can actually go and search up what gun file I want without knowing specifically a link to go for, and that's nice.
Yeah,
but
I mean, there's always like go-to landing points like the catalog or the unseen killers designs, people that about already, but to be able to search the comprehensive entirety of the GunCAD universe is something that has been impossible up until now.
There was a FOSCAD mega packs that existed, but those things were insane too on their own way.
and moderator Gage had the comprehensive spreadsheet from Black Lotus Coalition that was like every GunCAD page, and that's what Shitinator used to start the thing. And I mean, before the GunCAD index, you were basically using the spreadsheet to navigate to thousands of individual pages and manually following them so that they would show up in your feed. The GunCAD index basically does that all automatically for you. And so you can type in Mac or Mac 11 or Glock or whatever, and you'll get, or Smith & Wesson, SW9, M&P, and you'll get every freaking, every freaking, yeah, every GunCAD design that's out there that comes up, whether it's a mag release or it's a magazine or it's a whole frame or it's a reference CAD, or, I mean, it's brilliant. It's just absolutely brilliant. So, anyways, I can't speak highly enough of it because I don't know how many times I've been frustrated by Odyssey's dysfunction in its search capabilities.
Yeah, no, it's crap. And, it's crap. We could just say it's shit. But yeah,
absolutely.
But I'm glad we got that. I also see someone asking about someone was asking about some weird schizo I was talking about. Oh yeah, no, this is another thing. I guess I should probably go ahead and add to say I am actually running for the Gundy's nomination for the #1 influential voice in 2A. Yes, thank you for bringing that up. You can vote for me actually right here. I believe my social media accounts are there, but yes.
Was it fucking Gun Grundy or Gun Gundy or what the fuck?
So basically his claim to fame is that he had a TikTok account that got banned, but he was able to somehow, like, apparently I've heard a rumor that
the beard in the hat.
All I was told is that
it's a P80 Ralph with a beard.
Well, I was told all you need is about like 20 like nominations, and then you get put on the Gundy nomination for like official things. So if I get 20 nominations, if I get more than hit nominations than he does, which is like apparently like the threshold's like 20-ish, 25-ish or some shit.
Does he have a neck? Does this guy have a neck? That's what I want to know.
All I'm saying is I think the beard is to cover the double chin. But this guy was more or less saying something along the lines of I'm a gay foreigner or some shit. This is a true thing, by the way, too. Is as the most influential person, I would be handing out Glock FRTs, especially one to Lawrence DeMonico. I 100% hand a Glock FRT from Pemby to Lawrence DeMonico. But that is irrelevant. That's not what we're talking about today.
So funny.
But
that's so funny.
But vote for me for the Gundys for the #1 influential voice.
Yeah, that picture is classic, by the way. That guy, he legitimately had a crash out, man. Like when Reeves posted that, I like clicked in and drilled down. Like that fool had a legit crash out, like with like fucking 12 tweets, like just like screaming into the ether, screaming into the void, like I was like, dude, so that shit was kind of funny. Yeah, I was like, you need to settle down, man. Just gotta calm down, take a deep breath.
He was saying something about how I was a smug white boy from the suburbs who's yet to prove themselves, walk upright with the rest of us. I've been living my life as a tutorial or some shit. Let me. My bad. Yeah, this is also actually Yeezy Prince. For those who was wondering, this guy is Yeezy Prince. Here was his claim to fame was he had 3,700 or 300 300,776 bot followers, because it's TikTok after all, and all of them are fucking bots. Oh, and then he called me Jewish for some reason. He's also of the belief of this guy who is thank you X for blocking that for us. He was convinced I guess. If you're furries are furries, but if you're like reptiles, I think they call them scalies. Scaly was saying something, and he basically he likes T-Rexes, and he was convinced this guy is actually Lucas Botkins of T-Rex arms. But he calls people Jewish. Unrelated though, this is again that's all for you to hear and all for you to say of vote for me for the Gundys. If that guy could be a nominee for the Gundys, Palmetto State Armory sponsored Gundys Award, that is with all your favorite YouTubers like Brandon Herrera, Donut Operator, and the correct.
Absolutely.
I think I could also easily be nominated too, but I digress. I digress. Someone was saying it's because of my love for the Jericho. You are 100% right. I love my Hebrew guns. I have yet to see a gun that just fits
the
so
Hebrew
well.
guns.
Oy
Hey.
vey, indeed.
Look, I was a skeptic until I got the 3D printed Desert Eagle in 50 Action Express, and now I'm like, I don't know, man. That the Jew gun might be my favorite gun now.
I
the
mean,
thing is badass.
You got the one with the fucking side plates too, right?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Okay.
The thing is fucking just absolutely gnarly. I can't even explain it. It's really fun to shoot. It's really expensive to shoot. It's really fun to shoot.
I know, yeah. It's remember we said it was a Jewish gun after all, so of course it's going to be expensive to shoot.
Yeah.
You knew this from the beginning, but no, yeah. Anyways,
lots
I
of shekels. Lots of shekels every time you pull the trigger.
It definitely 50 AEs. Oh my god, that's the downside. But 50. I want a real Desert Eagle too, but like every time I come down to it, it's like the 44 Magnum one is the better option because it is cheaper to shoot. I've shot the 44 Magnum one. It's actually a little more reliable too. But if you're buying the Desert Eagle, you're buying it for 50 AE. You know you're doing it for 50 AE.
I know.
And it's like when you get it, it's not as impressive as you think it is. And then you realize, like, oh wow, I might as well be shooting wow, it's 50. Like it's a 50 cal as well. Like I might as well be shooting a Barrett for these bullet prices because you literally are spending Barrett bullet prices. But
well, I 3D printed mine out of nylon, and it's impressive. Like, I mean, it's like I have 44 Magnum, pistols, like metal ones or whatever, like OEM, and it's every bit as stout as a 44 Magnum, but just the fact that you could print that piece of shit, in your bedroom is it's amazing.
Well,
but whatever.
So yeah, let's change the tone right now. We're going to talk about the spooky, scary insults that are coming through.
Yes, it's
spooky,
Halloween.
Yeah, the spooky, scary insults with their spooky, scary ghost guns. But before we go any further, I'm going to ask you, what are you drinking today? I'll tell you what I'm drinking. I'm drinking some high gravity steel reserve in a 40. I decided, be classy today. I got the glass bottle, not the can.
Nice.
But
so I am drinking Gosling's 151 proof black steel rum, mixed with some purity eggnog, and then I have a Guinness extra stout in kind of on the side here. So, because if I sit in I suckle too much on the Goslings, I'm going to end up on the floor. So what I do is I kind of bounce back and forth a little bit. But we're doing good, man, on a Halloween Friday night.
Well, that's great. And hopefully you guys are drinking some wonderful things too. If you're whatever you're drinking, feel free to post it on Twitter, or I guess as they call it X, and tag us, and we might pull it up for you guys to get some audience participation, because it's a fun day after all, and let's have fun. But nice. back to the fun. Let's talk about incels. The popular 3D printed gun globalizing the Second Amendment, designed by a German incel. Dun, dun, dun. Incel.
Yeah.
The FGC-9 was created in a distinctly American spirit. Let us begin. Oh, you can translate. Oh, I forgot. This is luckily, if you want to read along, it's in the description. It's archived, so we're not giving Bloomberg any money, and we're bypassing that paywall because fuck you, Bloomberg, you fucking manlet. But let's go first.
Yeah, right.
Does any...
go ahead. I dropped it. I was going to say I dropped it in the chat too.
Okay, good. Yeah, that's... But let's go ahead. Let's go. Does any firearm announce its ideologies explicitly and profanely as the FGC-9 semi-automatic? The 9 refers in millimeters to the diameter of its bullets, but the FGC stands for fuck gun. I forgot. F gun control. The exact manner. I think I could probably tell when Stark put that there. Like he was probably smirking when he typed that in. I was like, let me call this. Like for this exact moment, whenever, if only he was here with us right now, he would have probably been smirking about this. Like, I'm glad they did it. Like, I'm glad it worked exactly as expected, because every time it's like, can you believe what it means? It's so
Well,
explicit.
I mean, that I think it works pretty good. It's pretty classic. It conveys exactly what it's about, man. And yeah, it's obviously there's a swear word involved in the name, but I think it makes makes a point, man. I think there's a time and a place, and the whole purpose behind it. I think it fills that bill beautifully.
Well, yeah, and yeah, definitely. Like, in all honesty, it is one of my favorite parts of it. I do kind of when I found out what the FGC, I was like, oh, it's kind of funny. I like it. But
Absolutely.
Let's keep going though. The exact manner by which the FGC9 aspires to F gun control is built into its very existence. It's a physiable. All right, that's fair way to say. Yeah, it's a physiable.
Yeah, I learned a couple of new words when I read this.
Well,
a portmanteau. The fuck?
A portmanteau. Do we have any frogs here? This is some. I mean, I don't speak Indian English, but okay, it's a physiable portmanteau. Oh no, whenever it's the E or the EAU, I think it becomes an O, right?
Yeah, so it's a portmanteau, right?
Portmanteau. Oh yeah, it's a physical portmanteau, physical and printable. I'm sorry, I'm getting too close to the author.
There you go.
Meaning the gun can be 3D printed into being. Of much. Imagine if I did the entire article like that.
Yeah, some fucking word salad right there.
Much of it. Anyway, when its designer, going by the online handle JStark 1809, I wonder what the 1809 significance is. There's probably something to it. I don't know. Maybe there was just just 1808 JStarks beforehand. But
yeah, I think there's it explains later on that I think it's John Stark is the was the inspiration for the name for the Revolutionary War. But whatever, continue.
Well, I know that part, but I know the Goliad one. Well, it's a Goliad flat from Texas. But anyways, from the physical and printable meaning, the gun can be 3D printed into being. Of much of it, anyways, when its designer, going with online handle J Stark, published its detailed 110-page guide to building the FGC9 in March 2020. Wow, that was that long ago. He explained in a foreword that had been frustrated by not being able to acquire and bear firearms because the regulations and tyrannical laws. Just like women, after all, it's an incel. Incel! Okay, I'm sorry. I'll stop that. I was getting too spooky for Halloween. I'm sorry. But, I mean, that was that was also a big part of why I didn't build it too. Is I found it interesting that some Euro was the guy who's like, yeah, I'm gonna make there's a certain little aspect to this of. I feel like people that are from banned areas have a certain desire and passion more than your typical guy in a normal state.
No,
right?
Sure. No, it's true. And the consequences are far more severe. So, for someone to engage in that level, they have to have a passion that is unrivaled in the United States in a lot of areas because of the fact that the consequences are much more severe. So, definitely respect for our behind enemy lines devs, 100%.
Yeah, and I feel like there's an extra pressure that makes you it kind of adds a little more radicalness in a way. But and also I see we do have someone that does speak frog, and they says it literally means this word, I believe it's the what is it? Where was the frog word again? It was a portmanteau. He was saying it literally means carry coat, but the usage is for words made by combining multiple words. Okay, so it's carry coat. Interesting. Okay, well, let's go back to it. It was safe to assume Jay Stark didn't live in the US, where the legal purchase of guns is easier than in almost any other country in peacetime. That's a lot of qualifiers there. And where guns can be 3D printed legally in many states. The FGC9 for the rest of the world, so much so that its manual used the metric system. That's a good point also. I will say that they did use the metric system was a little bit of a turn for me. As an American, it definitely threw me a little bit of a turn.
All right, let me jump in and just play devil's advocate. You do realize though that like the vast majority of all GunCat is done in metric. I mean, look, I can do both, and I have definitely helped people with projects in freedom units. However, man, so much of the reference CAD and the projects out there are done in millimeters that I'd say 75%, if not more. Anyways, I digress.
Well, no, I mean it's important to know because I will say there's a lot of. I think Hoffman might be one of the few that still like only uses Imperial, but I'm not sure if he still does it. Because I know I've talked to Hoffman.
Yeah.
He makes a joke about using Imperial, but and mostly everyone uses metric. But Shocker, I guess he did his research, but not that. He was too busy focusing on the Encel arc, man. Were you expecting him to actually make a technically good article? Let's be real with this. Our expectations should have been where they are now. I mean, at least he opened it. And again, as someone who cares about betas and specifically file releases, the FGC9 for a long time it was the gold standard. Honestly, for some people still might be of what a documentation guide should be, a build guide should be, because the FGC9's build guide details a lot of issues that could go wrong. Like, as I've spoken to Ivan about it specifically, and what he would say was like, for some of the stuff that he did, like helped out with the design, was basically like he would intentionally ECM barrels wrong. Like actually go out of his way to like ECM the barrel shorter, or like the chamber shorter, or the chamber too long, and like what would happen if you did that pretty much, and how can you fix it without having to rebuild everything. There was a lot. Like, that was sort of his whole thing of, like, why he doesn't do as much fully DIY guns, because to get that level of documentation to that level is so much more work than just you like a parts kit build where you just screw things together and it works. Like,
that's real talk. Like, to do the DIY designs is 10 times the work. Easy. I mean, it's no joke, right? No joke.
And that's why, like, for me, because I had, I built an FGC9. If you probably subscribe to this channel, you are well aware of that. The challenge with it, of course, is like, especially when there's no extractor, a lot of like little minor things, such as like chamber length and firing pin length, is crucial to getting a reliable firearm. So like, that troubleshooting section of the guide is a godsend because of that. It sort of tells you like, okay, what the issue you're running into is this, and if you were to just shorten your firing pin just a little bit more, it'll work better. Like, the specs that are given on the FGC9 are sort of a good guideline, and you can kind of work around it and build your own gun. I digress. We're never going to finish this if we continue with the tangents. But I just wanted to geek out a little bit because, again, this is one that I have specific knowledge and history doing, so I'm going to throw it in there when I can.
Nice.
But let's continue on. The key thing. Oh, goodness gracious. There is a key. The key thing was that it could be built superstitiously, making it so surreptitiously. You're right. I'm so sorry.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
The strong zero. I'm drinking the working man's drink here. Do you think I can pronounce things right? Untraceable. That is the ultimate ghost gun. Many of its components are unregulated. Unremarkable metal bits, springs, screws, nuts, washers. Jay Stark suggests places where they might be found, such as AliExpress, eBay, or the hardware store McMaster. Car. What couldn't be bought could be printed. The grip, say, or the stock, the brace for most Americans. Like the barrel and the bolt, could be machined at home out of purchased metal parts. The finished product looks like, as one commentator described, like if a kid's drawing of a pistol became a weapon. Whose commenter was that?
Yeah, I read that and I was like, "What? Give me a fucking break, okay?"
Oh my,
it's like, obviously the dude's some shit lib that probably lives either abroad or he
lives in London. His entire Twitter feed is about cricket.
Yeah, so his fucking idea of what guns should look like is probably like, watching Die Hard or some fucking RoboCop or some shit. He doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. So that's just, I read that. I was like, obviously, that's your perception. But and a lot of this article is exactly that. It's him just trying to, distill his perception as a probably, it makes perfect sense. He's from the UK, so the fucking Brit bong, that feeds in beautifully. Go ahead.
I mean, yeah, the big thing is true that is a big part about the whole philosophy of the FGC9 is that you can go buy anything, just random, unsuspecting parts from anywhere. And that's, again, what makes it really nice. And honestly,
I don't think it looks odd. I think it looks like functionally thought out. When I see the FGC9, I don't think it looks weird. I think it looks like, it makes sense because it was, it was designed in the dawn of a 3D printed escapades. So to me, it doesn't strike me as being what's the word? I guess it's not inelegant or clumsy. It's just that it's designed so that it works and it holds up. I guess that's my engineer brain, but it doesn't look weird to me.
I mean, yeah, the only thing that there are always by arguments of like, yeah, they kind of the screw. There was a lot of M3 screws and shit that are kind of a pain in the ass to remove things. But that's not obviously not what they're bringing up for this one. But I would never. I don't know how many kids are thinking of Glock mags and just anything. That's more of a adult. That's more of like the Reddit gunman idea of everything does have Glock mags. But I digress again. It has a long stock and a short barrel. It can can be printed using any color filament in Australia. 3 years ago, police seized an FGC9 with a bright blue barrel. Not a barrel, that's a barrel shroud, and an orange stock and trigger.
Yeah, right.
For all we know,
the reason that's basically a backhanded dig at the fact that you're making guns that are different colors that don't look like guns. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the thank you again, archive. Called this is Ari's one. Okay. These are the guys that help. Like, I think these guys actually do a pretty good job of it. I mean, this just looks like the barrel shroud. I think I know who makes this, but that's unimportant. Anyways, to make a gun would have cost less than $1,000, including all the needed tools, vices, soldering irons, ankle grinders, drills, and the 3D printer itself. Subsequent builds would be even cheaper. You seem more ethnic, right? Can you read this name?
I see more ethnic. What the fuck is that? AG. Tumos and shit. Tumos Cooter. I don't fucking know. I see more ethnic. You did what? Dumbass.
Thomas Kure, a detective chief inspector in Finland, busted a neo-Nazi cell that was manufacturing FGC9s in 2022. And he thinks each gun must have cost €400 or €500 to make. Whereas if you had to buy a new regular gun off the black market, even if you could, it would probably set you back thousands of euros. Kuro says, well-printed FGC9s look polished and feel substantial. There are layers of plastic filament.
Yeah, they do.
Densely packed together. You hold it, he says, and you think, this is a serious piece of work.
Because it fucking is. That's right.
One of my favorite accounts on Twitter for a while, his name was Zanikin. He used to follow the I want to say it was the Netherlands and the Amsterdam Spinning Rap Bro. Yeah. He used to follow a lot of the Telegram groups in the Netherlands and would post basically FGC.
Telegram is Yeah, Telegram is fucking just goddamn unhinged. I mean, I love Telegram, but Telegram is the goddamn if you don't know about Telegram is the fringe of the fringe, bro. I mean, I don't even know what it's comparable to. I see shit on Telegram that's fucking out of hand. I mean, it's just absolutely off the fucking chain. But anyways, go ahead.
The big thing about that was a lot of these FGC9s were being built in Europe, and they were actually, I think, the cost that he was giving, about 400, 500 euros, seems to, from what I remember of those threads back then, was about what sounds about right of what people were selling them for. Which again, compared to like your typical like actual firearm, you're talking over like well over €1,000. And in reality, what are you really doing? Are you really going to be fighting against armored people? No. And 9mm PCC is going to be more than capable for everything you're going to do. And if it's reliable enough, who gives a shit? And that was a big deal of it. And that's why I think the FGC9 really exploded in Europe, because in all honesty, if you had any knowledge of what you were doing and some sort of street savviness, you could probably easily make, honestly, like a €200 profit. For me, my FGC9, if you don't include the printer, cost me about like $200. To make.
Right.
And like, yeah, you can easily mark that up for anyone that doesn't want to buy one. That's they did really blow up in Europe a lot, and like you would see crimes that would go on where like people would do like motorcycle drive-bys with FGC9s. The FGC9 is popular in Europe, and I believe maybe they get into this. I think that was one of the like the Der Spiegel articles that brings up like JStark specifically. That was, I think, how we got caught was they were looking for FGC9 gangs, and they found the guy who made it pretty much. But
yeah.
Anyways, let's continue on. It's impossible to count the FGC9s out there, but scholars and law enforcement officials run into them often enough to suggest that outside the US, it's now the most popular 3D printed gun in the world. They've encountered the FGC9s in the wild in more than a dozen countries across 5 continents, including the hands of extremists in Sweden, Netherlands, and anti-government rebels in Myanmar. Ruben Das, a researcher of terrorism at Singapore's Nanyang Technology University, has built a database of 325 incidents involving 3D printed guns across the world since 2013. They include discoveries during police searches in homes and workshops, raids of known weapon stashes, and arrests of gun owners. Half of these occurred outside North America, and the FGC9 and its iterations popped up in almost a third. That's good to hear, I guess. But yeah, that seems about right. I mean, again, the FGC9 is sort of taking over where the Ludi went, and it's for good reason. But to anyone who pictures the core demographic here as American gun nuts, sporting camo, and don't tread on me tattoos, really setting a good fucking
Christ.
Really setting a good fucking picture. The globalizationist movement may come as a shock. Yeah, if you are literally that fucking sheltered in a bubble, this probably is coming as a shock to you, I guess.
Let me make a small interjection. There is no way that you can resolve 325 incidents since 2013 and the American like 3D printed gun culture / existence, because that obviously that number does not include anything in the United States, or probably very little in the United States. If it did, it would be much larger. I mean, it just even Freeman's deal is at 50, if not 75 or plus 3D printed firearms. So there's no way that 325 includes anything in the United States. I mean, I could probably count the 4 or 5 different incidents that I have in recent memory and come up with 325. I mean, nothing that I have is infringing, but if for some reason they wanted to come look at my 3D printed guns, I might surpass that number just in what I have, in my house. So I think that they, that 325, I mean, that's some fucking rookie numbers. That's got to be some UK shit or some, that's Canada and whatever else. I mean, that's respectable, but there's no way that that's representative of anything in the United States.
Dude, I could probably look behind me in my like printed failures if we want to count frames as like firearms that couldn't be around. I'm probably at least at like 20 right now with me.
Oh, hell yeah. That's what I'm saying. That's crazy.
But I mean, for me, it's just like the hubris of it's the like. Let me see if I can find one of the cartoons, but there's this guy called Horsey that exists out there, and he makes like gun nut pictures, which is like, it's like the quintessential shit lib, like gun nut, gun humper, like cartoons. It's super out of touch, but it's like this, like nice. Your immediate thought is like, oh, don't tread on me tattoos with gun nuts with camo and shit. Yeah. It's like, that's your, obviously your typical gun. Yeah. All right. Like,
like I see beer belly and a MAGA hat, right? Like,
Yeah.
stereotype the fuck out of it.
There could be a MAGA hat behind me. Oh my goodness, he thought to himself. I'm sorry, I'm getting too spooky for you guys. I forgot. Yeah, it's the Halloween special after all, but let's keep going though. The FGC9 helped make this happen. COVID-19 did too. I will say this. Also, this is the truest statement that has ever been said in this entire article.
Yeah.
Probably out of all of this, I don't even have to keep reading further to all of this. And hell, I don't even have to read all of these ones either. I can just tell you this right now. This line is probably the most truest of all of them, because when COVID-19 happened, including myself, I can say this too, I could print anything I wanted because I was at home 24 hours. So whenever there was like those weird, like really long prints and stuff, it didn't matter because I was at home at all time. And that,
100%, bro.
I think a lot of
100%.
people started in COVID-19, and a lot of starting printing around COVID-19 was the best timing to start, just because you had all that time to learn how to troubleshoot and do all these wonderful things, and you could print practically anything. I remember, oh my god, that was when I started, and I think that's when a lot of people started. And I think that was when a lot of people joined the community too. And things really haven't recovered from then, when you had such a large tester base and such a large, active community from COVID-19.
Hell yeah. I was using my STEMI checks to buy parts kits, using STEMI checks to buy filament.
Yeah.
I mean, that's where it all got serious.
But, that out of everything we read today, I'm going to say this is probably the most true. But, anyways, Jay Stark published the FGC9 during the pandemic. Well, he published, the FGC9, Mark 1 came around the pandemic. That's what I built around the pandemic. That was my pandemic project. Some people learned crocheting, baking, all this other shit. But,
right.
I learned how to do this. Anyways, Jay Stark published the FGC9 design during the pandemic, when plenty of gun enthusiasts were stuck at home and online a lot. As the 3D or 2A for 3D printed and Second Amendment movement spread, it also diversified, developing fault lines, cliques, and factions. Its political baseline is right-leaning libertarians, but also includes trans rights groups, leftist anarchists, and those somewhat blurred ideologies. One of the latter, Luigi Mangione, is alleged to have sourced a gun blueprint originally published by the collective, the collective called the Catalog, built a Glock-style pistol, and shot Brian Thompson, the chief executive officer of United Healthcare, last year. Mangione has not pled guilty. Yet here he is. It's interesting I said the catalog for this one. But yeah, no, it is definitely... Yeah, I mean, right-leaning libertarians, an interesting way of putting it, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know about all that. I think that, the fear-mongering, the pearl-clutching is always the right-wing extremists. I would say that it's just as many extremists, centrist extremists and leftist extremists, as there are right-wing extremists. And being extreme is, I don't know if I think that it's such it's such a own like it used to be. Believe in something, man. And I think universal armament and being able to have the right to self-defense, self-determination, it's kind of at the basis of, human existence. So, fuck being a follower and a bootlicker, that ain't for me, bro. Maybe somebody else is for them, but it's not for me. It's not for a lot of other people.
Well, I mean, it's one of those where I would say, it's what is right-leaning liberty? I mean, I guess, do we want to call the guys who say print money not, or print guns not Bitcoin as right wingers? All right, sure, whatever. I guess if you ever speak to any of them about anything besides whether or not the government should give money to things, then like you would be kind of hard pressed to find any right wing opinions in them. But hey, I digress. That's not what we're here for, I guess. I know for a fact I've been called trans several times just because I have 3D printed guns to begin with. So that part, I guess, is not too far off. And the anarchist and leftist part seems to be closer to anything else, I guess. But
nice.
Anyways, let's continue on.
Yeah, read this next paragraph because this is where it gets interesting.
Oh boy, here. Oh, I realize what we're in right now. But I just received a message from someone who is banned off of YouTube. Our friendly Polymaker representative right now, telling me he's having a fun time right now. Congratulations, Dodgers! You guys are still winning right now. One of the deep ideological divisions over the ethics and profiting from gun designs has resulted in a legal battle between legal battle that began with a Floridian. I forgot that's how you say it.
Floridian.
A Floridian gun designer named Matt Larosiere accused the 3D. Bro.
Yeah.
32A. The 32A pioneer, some would say the primordial father, Cody Wilson, with frigid copyright. Larosiere has published gun blueprints that were free to use and distribute. His suit claims, but not to commercialize, as Cody Wilson is alleged to have done. In the countersuit, Cody Wilson describes the catalog to which Larosiere belongs as a credible enterprise and a black market operator in the worst sense. Wilson did not respond to requests for comment in the response to the suit. He claimed that he and his company comply with federal and state laws, and he has argued elsewhere that copyright law covers only creative works and not functional objects. Larosiere did reply for requests for comment, but only to say that Wilson's countersuit has just been dismissed. I mean, so I will say this right here is, I think within this happened was true. The big update on this case, and it came as a shock for me too, was that this one basically the lawsuit just fucking ended. And with the dismissal, like, yeah, we're just going to end it. And then they made a new one. So who the fuck knows what's going on? Welcome to the legal case. This is why I fucking hate law for this shit. Because, when things end, it just fucking comes back again anyways. But I, again, digress. Let's avoid that. To the 3D2, we need to be extra cautious, because if we say too many things and pretend to, like, almost have a side in this situation, then we're going to get a fucking letter in the mail. And I don't want that.
What were you
gonna say?
There's no confusion as to where I side with this, and this guy likes to bring me up in his fucking
our diary article, his diary posts.
Yeah, his little newsletters and bullshit like that, and he definitely he had the opportunity to be to figure it out and to try to come to a conclusion, but. Or to try to, there at one time there was probably a path to not, have it go, completely nuclear. But, I tell you, pride is a motherfucker, and some guy's got a lot of pride, and I don't know how it's all going to end, but I don't think it's going to go the way he expects. So, anyways, I'm kind of caught up in it, and I got fucking nothing to do with it, really. I just, I'm out here trying to make guns and teach people to make guns, and this is something I like, and it's something I like to participate in, and it's like you wonder why what happened to Freeman happened, and this dude is like, he's just toxic, man. He's got a lot of issues. And when he's really upset, I don't think he's got a lot of decorum as far as like the rest of us. I might not like you, but that doesn't mean I'm going to go after you personally or try to fuck you up, ruin your life, etc., etc. I'm not so sure about everyone else involved. So I'll just leave it at that.
I mean, I'll leave it to as my main thought with all of this, and this is just sort of my main thing with all of it, is If your entire business model is to, I guess, sell to the people that are in this said community, it's best not to try to piss off said community. Basically, if my future potential customers are the ones who I am going to be pandering to, it's best not to antagonize and attack the said consumers that I want or the said community I have. But anyways, who am I to say anything? I am not hired anywhere. I am a freelancer and I am just a troll who likes to have fun on the internet. Anyways, to the 3D2A movement, it's bad form for a journalist to draw inordinate attention to the assassin and crooks among them. Many of the people who swarm into the Reddit forums and Telegram, Rocket Chat channels, oh wow, Rocket Chat getting a shout out here, appear to be tech geeks at heart. It's just that tech is a firearm. And they're geeking out over the minutia of designing and building it. A typical Reddit post begins with, I'm considering finally going a bit more advanced than PLA Plus and trying out a build that uses some kind of carbon fiber nylon. Oh, wow, this is nice. Baby's first carbon fiber print. Anyways, I have also seen a lot of people anneal their nylon prints. So I have a few questions. Do you anneal your nylon prints?
I think I remember that. I might have responded on that post. Anyways, go ahead.
I don't. I think you don't really anneal your nylon prints, right? Isn't that what we say now, right?
I don't. No, that's usually what is the shocker is, gang, you don't have to anneal your nylon prints. I mean, you can if you want to. It doesn't matter. I mean, it's not going to hurt it, but I got to be real. Like, I've got a dozen nylon prints. They're bangers. I got thousands of rounds. You don't have to anneal them if you don't want to. Annealing them will make them better, but they absolutely work and survive for fucking ever without annealing. All right, go ahead.
Well, anyways, that thread doesn't exist anymore. In the late September, Reddit banned the subreddit on which it was posted on the grounds that the users failed to avoid posting illegal content or soliciting or facilitating illegal prohibited transactions. Regardless of the reason of their interest, their affiliation within the movement, or their nationality, all of the enthusiasts hold dear to the right to bear arms, and understanding of this right is purely American. One designer, a Brazilian who goes by the name José the Parrot in English, or the Criuque, boca fiado in Portuguese. Author, I speak a little bit of Portuguese. I speak just enough to say certain important words. I hope he hears that, and I hope someone tells him that. Boca fiado. Document called the new Second Amendment to go with a guide for his FGC9 offshoot. Now, that is just insulting. It is not the same as the FGC9 now. It is completely... No. There's enough differences to it where I would say it is not a bullpup FGC. That is just... To say FGC9 is just say all fully DIY printed guns are FGC9s. It is not anything like the FGC9 in that regard of... It doesn't... I guess the closest you have to a similar part would be the extractor ejector thingy, the little like flip arm thing, which is the closest you're gonna get.
Yeah, no, I agree. That is a very uneducated statement. And what would you expect from a Brit Bong Pajit writing a hit piece 3D2A article, right? But honestly, there's, the Urutau is a masterpiece, that can stand completely on its own. Now, while it may have been inspired by the FGC9, you could say the same for any DIY platform, the Rogue 9, the Nutty 9, the Triton 9. However, it is infinitely complex in many different ways, and I got to say, it is anything but a remix of the FGC9. It took a lot of work and a lot of innovation to make that happen.
Well, I mean, I also do see. It seems like we have a macaca in the chat as well. Yeah. I do. Fala português. I do speak a little bit. I got you, but but no, yeah. I would say the 99 is the closest you would have to an FGC9 or offshoot.
Yes.
The Rebel 9 itself is like kind of goes its own different way of. Again, I would say it falls into the Oratao specialty. I mean, I talked to the Parrot Boy about this.
It does. You're right. You're right about that.
And me and the Parrot talked about this. He said, if I were in like an actual war zone nowadays, like if I had to make a gun that was just going to last me forever, I would probably build. I think the Rebel 9 is the newest one, right?
A Rebel 9, yeah.
He told me, I was like, I would build one of those because those are one of the best ones. He said that is one to build to last. The Urutau is his design, and he says he loves it a lot, but it's like, yeah, if I were in war, like that would be the one. Like, if I were a Myanmar rebel right now and I had to print a gun, I would do the Rebel 9.
And probably the only real superiority there is you have, the fire control group is easier. Executed with an AR fire control group as opposed to a forward mounted bullpup design. And I mean, they both work. They're both great. But if, dollars to donuts, if you had to be in an adverse environment, I'd probably rather have the AR fire control group than the forward mounted bullpup design, just being real about it.
No, yeah. I mean, the bullpup, I think the bullpup looks cool, and I think that's the bigger thing, too. I mean, I was able to build it myself, too. It's a unique design. It's actually really interesting in the way he goes about it. I think there's a lot of things to take from it, and a lot of things that people can move from it. One of the new updates that he did to it that I need to do to my FGC9, not my FGC9, the Urtao 9 was, I made a mistake of, I bought from V originally. I believe V has now changed, like, management, or... I don't know anymore what happened, but I think they've changed management now. Things are different. The metal was kind of messed up. The parts kits were never shipping and anything. And like my firing pin specifically, it was like weakest pot metal imaginable, where like the firing pin bent. And when I got a barrel from MAF, and MAF's barrel's great. It's the best weldless bolt design you can find, where it has a screw through it and holds it tight. That was the issue I was having with mine. The issue was my firing pin's been bent to shit. And like trying to bend a firing pin straight again is a pain in the ass. Unrelated altogether. But I believe he took something from one of DB9's hold-up designs, where using bearings to make it a little more delayed in his Oratao. Right. He added an update to it where it kind of has. It's now a delayed 9mm P2C, I guess, using a similar concept to DB's hold up, where it's using ball bearings. This is all completely new, by the way, and this is like something. Did we even was this even a beta, or did he just release this as his own thing?
No. He's somebody asked in the chat what happened to him. Like I said, man, these guys that are abroad, like their consequences of what they're doing is way beyond anything that we have to face in the States. And so one of the reasons that you're not seeing him is, things are getting tense worldwide in, this political spectrum. So he's still working. He's still doing his thing. You just, he's not being as public because he's got to be careful.
I was going to say something. Someone was mentioning something about Parrot, and where I'll just say one thing. Parrot's fine. He's alive in his own way. All right, don't worry about it.
That's right.
I'll just leave it at that for right now. He is fine. Let's just say he's just taking a break for right now. But and I see Gutter Cheese is also in the chat. Probably again. If you just want a guy who's doing all the I've never seen a man truly dedicated to like doing every cool beta design as Gutter Cheese is. Truly one of the best people to follow on the internet. If you just want to see what every single beta looks like at its best, Gutter Cheese is the best guy to do for that for. I need to see his if he's done like the updated Nopal fucking minigun little like Gatling gun crank thing, because it seems like that thing has kind of been like now I think at its final release now, so I wonder where he's at that.
It got released last weekend.
I think so. Yeah.
Anyways.
Yeah, but that's not what we're talking about right now. But anyways, happy to see you go to Cheesy. Always nice to see you around. But
Gutter Cheese is an ace. He's what I call an ace, man. It's a straight up ace.
Anyways, I would imagine if you're a beta developer or a beta dev, you want him somewhere in there. But anyways, to those who tend to be anxious about state control of their lives, maybe I missed Parrot. I missed this part. Another 3 days movements were interviewed for the story.
You're skipping around a little bit.
He wished to be referred to only by his handle Hmm. Okay. So some people are
Okay.
trying. Seems like that's a really interesting way of phrasing that. Like others in the 3D2A movement, who were interviewed for the story, he only wished to be referred by his online handle. Okay, that's.
I mean, what else would you refer to him as? Like, he's going to give you his real fucking name?
Yeah. No, Mister.
Dumbass fucking Brit Bong. You know?
Mister, I'm gonna call Jay Stark a fucking incel. Yeah, tell me your name and your full fucking address. Who living in Brazil, man? Let me know more about you. Tell me more about you.
Retard.
Do you know your address too? Could I visit too? I'm gonna bring some friends too. They carry nice fun guns.
Right. Fucking journotard.
He wished to be referred to only by his handle. Okay, yeah. Without authorization is illegal in many countries, including Brazil. Okay, make sure you put that there.
No shit.
I will say this, and I've talked to Parrot about this, and he's very, very open about this as well. He has not ever printed his designs. He designs it for Americans to build, and that's what he does. He follows his own laws in his own way, and that's kind of why the Ortau took a little bit longer than some people wanted, was because of that. It wasn't him doing it. Of course, if you're a developer, I mean, you can speak on this too yourself, that it's a lot easier when you're the guy who's developing and you can just go outside and fucking shoot the thing.
The way I get most of my designs done is exactly that way. Like, it's really hard for me to envision the way that he does most of his development, which is to send it to the States and have guys where it's legal to print and test fire, and then give him feedback for changes. So, that's amazing, and obviously there was the whole thing with the release of Urutau where, looking at you, are we cool yet? Didn't want to be a part of it. But, thank goodness we had a collective in the community that was willing to, to take it under, testing and, whatever you want to call it, development.
We could go down that rabbit hole if we want a lot. I remember Unseen Killer made sure to come in with his nice broom in hand to make sure. Oh, I was told it wasn't secure enough or wasn't reliable enough. That's what they said, but unrelated, and we're not going to go into that one. But anyways, I will say the Ortau is probably one of the better ones, especially with the ball bearing one. I'm very happy that came out, and I have been pushing things off with a lot of moves and things, but I have now my Ortau made, and now I have to make the decision whether I want to do the delayed version, which arguably is the proper.
I mean, I would.
Yeah, exactly. It's exactly right. So now I have to be like, okay, well, now I gotta reprint it just a little bit. It's a pain and ordeal. I getcha. But anyways, let's keep going. To those who tend to be anxious about state control over their lives, and a growing alarm about tyranny feels particularly justified during this movement of deepened authoritarianism, says Raja Barzan or Bazaran, whatever the fuck.
Who the fuck is that guy?
He is the guy who did
researcher at the Department of War Studies at King's College London.
Yeah.
So this is another Pajit Britbong. So let's. What does he say, AG?
Well, let's say. I mean, he says that we may not be living under a tyrannical government now, but oopsies! I opened this big weird. What's this weird?
It's some spooky voices in the background.
Yeah, that was some spooky voices, although I think I have shit done in a way that... Okay, it doesn't matter. Spooky, scary... Oh, guys, someone's at the door. They're federal informants at my door, guys. I'll be back in a minute. But what was I saying? Their thinking... what was it? Their thinking is that we may not be living under a tyrannical government now, but many people... or maybe tomorrow, so we need guns to defend ourselves. Ursa says. What worries Kure and other officials is that anyone who thinks attacking is the best form of defense can now print... Oh my goodness, God forbid. Oh, God forbid someone could ever be prepared. Oh my goodness, God forbid.
The pearl clutching. Here comes the pearl clutching.
Look, whenever a hurricane's about to hit, I think, I make fun of those guys who are always scared of everything. I buy all my food the moment the fucking hurricane lands and hits my area, all right? When everyone's going to the fucking like Walmart and shit or the fucking grocery store, I'm going to be there. I'm going to wait to the last second because I'm not a fucking crazy prepper. I don't want people to think I'm some creepy right-winger, right?
I mean, this axiom, this like mentality is totally backwards. Like, because you have a gun does not mean that you are going to be offensive. Now, you could be offensive, but that doesn't mean because I have a firearm to protect myself, that is not indicative of me being offensive. So you have this thing where the best form of defense is to attack. It's like if you're threatened, if your life is on the line, if you're being assaulted, yeah, then you fight back. And fighting back is not necessarily being on the offensive. Fighting back and defending yourself, the right of self-defense, the right of self-determination, that is not offensive in nature. If anything, it's defensive in nature. So, this whole, I mean, what the fuck else are you supposed to do? I mean, give me alternatives. I don't know what the fuck. What are the alternatives?
You vote. You vote.
Yeah.
You vote.
Yeah.
You vote.
Vote harder, baby.
You vote. Yeah, when you vote, and when the voting doesn't work, you vote harder. That's what you do.
Fuck that.
Keep voting and keep voting harder. Don't you know that's how they got Hitler out of office, right? They voted him. But what was it? What worries Correa and other officials and others is that attacking as of yet, outside the U.S., the FGC-9 or other 3D guns has been used to kill people in acts of terrorism. Oh no! But Barca thinks it's inevitable. Yeah. No. Yeah. No.
Why do you need an FGC-9? You can just take a cargo van and drive it down a packed street. During New Year's or something.
Hey, now those are different. Okay, they come for different reasons, and the people believe different things. It's best not to look too deep into these things.
It's fucking bullshit.
God forbid, there's a reason why police even view cars as weapons themselves, and there's a good reason behind it because cars are fucking weapons, and also bombs are really easy to make too. But anyways, this our Mr. Barza thinks it's inevitable because God forbid terrorism is happening now. I'm only focused on one specific form of terrorism right now. You've got these designs floating around, and you've got people making these designs. Eventually, someone's going to use them in attack, he says. Well, I mean, given enough time, someone will do anything, right? If you hit a slot machine 1,000 times, you might hit a jackpot, right? He says, I don't even think it's alarmist to say that. It's just a matter of time. What a fucking philosopher over here, Mr. fucking...
I know.
A true philosopher here. What a nice picture of him as well. Barza, a mild-mannered scholar in his 30s, airlines is otherwise, wears most uncontroversial mustaches and he bicycles to work even in the rainiest London weather, which is to say,
give me a fucking break. Yeah,
he isn't someone who looks as if he spends most of his time thinking about guns. I disagree from what I've seen.
Yeah. Can we just pause here to remark on the patron saint of mustaches and bicycles here? Because, we've got a guy who's obviously his opinion that we should absolutely respect because he is riding a bicycle and sporting the most unassumingness of mustaches. That singularity has me just in absolute awe of obviously I need to listen to what the fuck this guy's got to say. Go ahead.
Well, let's go ahead and hear. I mean, we already know what he says. He says a lot of things, in fact. But a mild man, goes into group chats called whenever anything would pop off in the world, it would be posted in here. On Yom Kippur 2019, someone in the chat alerted him of an armed far-right extremist was trying to enter a synagogue in the German city of Halle and live streaming from a helmet can. As Barca watched, the extremist man named Stephen Ballard tried and failed to enter or get inside the synagogue and shot and killed 2 people nearby. He was prevented by harming anyone else only because his weapons failed. Oh, I remember this guy. He's a good one that used it was a ludi, I believe. I believe he used a ludi with paper shelled casings, and those were paper casings don't work well on chocolate. It jammed immediately.
Unbelievable.
But
unbelievable.
Yeah. So, but his guns were homemade, and they kept jamming. Bursa says You could hear how frustrated he was on the live stream. I'll be 100% honest. I was not the biggest. I'm as someone who likes 3D printed guns a lot. I didn't, and like DIY firearms. I didn't go out to look the fucking murders of random people on the internet. And maybe maybe you could call me a pussy or something. I guess I didn't. I wasn't as invested as this man looking at gore and shit. But hey, teach their own. However, we get our own kicks.
If he used a lootie, there is, for one instance of a guy, having a fucking nut job breakdown with a lootie. I mean, since World War II or since the Nazi occupation of Europe, I mean, how many other instances have there been of homemade submachine guns similar to the lootie, if not identical to the lootie? Could you point to that would be, inspirations of liberation and,
No, I mean,
basically actionable defeats of tyranny.
Is the Sten the other one that people use, I think, right?
Yeah. The Sten, the Sterling, I mean, fuck, man. There's I've seen probably 10 different variations of that tube gun, are made all over, Poland and fucking all over, man. Oh. I mean, yeah, you got a guy that decided to have a fucking nut job breakdown in a synagogue in 2019, what the fuck ever. There's probably, 1,000 cases a year in in the 42 through 45 or whatever, man, of occupied Europe, of people, they had whole factories making homemade Sten guns, homemade tube guns for the resistance in occupied Europe. But whatever. I mean, nobody wants to remember that. Nobody wants to point to that was a linchpin of resisting authoritarian. I'm sorry, tyranny and authoritarian. I fucking can't pronounce. I drank too much rum. I can't pronounce my words, but you get the idea.
Well, again, I will say one thing though that is unique is that what was I going to say? What was I going to add to that? Well, I mean, if anything, I will say I get this feeling a lot of the time whenever I read these type of shit. It's like these type of people, as much as they want to say, it seems like they almost get giddy whenever there's a fucking shooting or crisis that happens of oh wow, someone died. Yeah, it almost makes them wasting their fucking time justified in a way. So it's it's one of those things of ambulance chasing in a way of if there is no tragedy, if there is no death, then they have no purpose, and basically you have to admit and say, I failed my life and I studied something that was so useless and not helpful for me that really none of this matters. And to do that would basically be admitting that everything you've done right now is pointless and all for nothing. To do that, to admit that would be a very hard life, especially as someone in their late 30s, like this guy over here, having to say that. So, yeah, of course, you will do anything you can to justify it. No. There's right wingers underneath my bed. If I turn off the lights, I can hear them saying Jew all the time.
The fucking boogeyman.
There's someone on Twitter, posted a Nazi edit of me, and now that means it's everything. No, yeah, buddy, sure. It's whatever. Yeah. Anyways, I mean, I see the word liberator here right now. And hell, I mean, what was the original liberator to go back what you were saying? Hang on a second.
Well, don't skip ahead, because he's about to call out R. Smith 28. So can we at least recognize R. Smith 28 for a second?
I was going to mention something, but go ahead. I want to hear what you say first before I go any further.
Oh, I mean, I was just stoked because the dude did name drop, some guys that we don't hear get talked about. R. Smith 28's one of those guys. And, I appreciate, I'll give you a perspective from my end, being the somewhat new beta manager. I got the package for the UberClay, and, R. Smith was super instrumental in all that documentation. I started going through there and I was like, at first I didn't know what to think, because for every page of instruction of building the UberClay, there was probably 2 to 3 pages of I don't want to call it a manifesto, but OPSEC security and new Second Amendment and all this stuff. And it was the first time I'd ever been exposed to some of that. And so it took me a minute to kind of internalize it and digest it. And what they're doing, man, is I think it's pretty commendable, because we get we're kind of spoiled in the States, right? Like we have the Constitution, and it's not perfect in, you know, America. It's not perfect. However, we do enjoy freedoms that the vast majority of the rest of the world don't have, and so, you know, and it's, I think it's part of the controversy that surrounds URATAO is, you know, it is an idealistic movement. It is a you know, it is something like we are passing that bit of America, that bit of freedom, you know, that bit of liberty, um, in that idea, that brush fire to the rest of the world. In you know, whenever you download URATAO and you go through the documentation, you're exposed to that. And so, you know, if all you've ever known is you live in fucking the UK and, you know, they arrest you for Facebook posts and, you know, you gotta, like, you know, keep your head on your shoulders for the rape gangs and all this other bullshit. I mean, you know, you don't know about that, right? And so you read something like the new Second Amendment, it kind of starts to like open your eyes. Like maybe this isn't the way fucking the world's supposed to be, you know? And enough people get that in their brain, that can change things, man. I mean, that can change things. And so, you know, I get it. That's why these guys are kind of a little scared of it. That's why they're a little put off. They don't know what to do. But, you know, I got to tell you, man, like, um, you know, living in fear and not being able to defend yourself, that's no way to be, man. And you know, being under the boot, so to speak, that's just, you know, that's not the way God intended it. So,
Well,
you know, I hope that they can take those ideas and, you know, carry them forward.
well, I mean, I'll say this. I know for R. Smith specifically, like, um, to say that he was a minor part of like, I would argue Parrot and like R. Smith is as much of a factor to the URATAO as Parrot is.
Agreed.
He was probably the most dedicated builder in the entire beta, where a lot of what he
Yes.
did became part of the gun. Like it was probably without him, the URATAO would have never released, I would say.
Right.
And the fact that he's even getting name dropped at all in this is kind of interesting. Of that is a step
Yeah.
above your like typical journalist.
No, I agree. I mean, during the whole review process, in the, you know, where we were going over and modifying docs and stuff. I mean, I very rarely did I ever talk to Parrot. I was mainly going back and forth with R. Smith, and, you know, they were. I got to tell you, at first, like going through all that, I was kind of, you know, we have a saying at the catalog. It's we're here for the guns, and everything else can fuck off, right? And so, you know, at first, I was a little bit resistant to the whole, you know, the ideological flex there. But, you know, the more that I thought about it, and the more that I went through it, you know, the more it made sense. And, you know, it kind of opened my mind a little bit as to, you know, maybe the rest of the world just isn't as accustomed to what I am or where we are in the United States. And so, you know, I have an appreciation for it. You know, it took a minute for me to internalize it, but I think it makes sense the way it is, and I, you know, I'm glad they did it that way.
Well, yeah, no, and I mean, I will take like before I go any further because I think we're about to get to like the whole J Stark being an insult part of all this shit. Cool, whatever. But like,
Yeah, nice.
if there's like for people that are still here, the people that are listening of anything, I do want some of like I hope I can impart some knowledge to you that hasn't been mentioned in the channel so far. We already talked about was it the shitinator and the gun catalog and everything. And R. Smith is a person that I really do want to respect. I think the big fact right now that he's being referred to as R. Smith 28 tells you about how he wants to be kind of known as just sort of the guy in the background. Probably just one of the biggest testers of anything. Nowhere do you want him to be too much more in depth. You want to look too deep into him. He just wants to be, he did his work, he put his effort into it, and that's about as much as he wants. I will give him credit. I do know that he had a lot of effort and a lot of he did a lot of work in that design. And I want for people to give credit to like Parent and everything. I also want you guys to know R. Smith was also doing a lot of the work in the background, and definitely the URATAO would have never been released if it wasn't for him, is what I will say. So
yeah, agreed.
We can go now further on to this. Let's go read about why J Stark is an incel. But I will say this: I see Gutter Cheeses right now saying preach UberClay. So don't worry. You feel free to go ahead and
Shit.
say whatever you want. Yeah. You have an audience right now here. This is different from the beta videos where we can just kind of have fun and we can actually just say shit what we want. We're trying to keep those again like beta focused and everything. And the downside of all that shit is like then this stuff happens and we can't talk about it as much. Okay, so this is like almost a year of pent up rage. I want you to understand this. Because like before we record, this is the shit we talk about, more or less.
Yeah, right.
So yeah,
that's definitely true.
so like yeah, let's we have okay. You know, I'm gonna say the Bloomberg one, or not the Bloomberg. The fucking Boston Globe one. You can read that shit on your own. It's stupid. It's whatever. It's like it's like a paragraph. Go ahead and read it. Oh, 3 guns bad. This is the only one I kind of care about. We'll go over like half of it if anything, because we're like barely a third of the shit through. So we'll keep going with this one right now. But okay. Anyways, to put a nice little cap on all of that, is that again, R. Smith, if you are listening to this, or anyone that knows R. Smith, let him know again that you are appreciating what you did was incredible. And in all honesty, the most important thing, and if for any aspiring beta dev, even if you live in those weird areas, like use Parrot as an example, is that if you can find someone like an R. Smith to be there to help you out and be the one guy, that one tester, hell, I think we have one of them. That guy's name is Gutter Cheese in a way. Then your project might actually see its way all the way through, because having that truly dedicated of a tester is the most important thing to actually push you past that finish line. That's my, my little commentator's view of things, but I digress, and I'll continue on. When he became an adult, he moved away from his hometown, or so he could, he says, manufacture his own firearms legally and minimize the risk of social ostracization. Throughout the 2010s, he recalls most 3D printed firearms designs were intended as gimmicks and political provocation. That's about true. The Liberator was 100% that. The designs often lack quality control and assembly guidance.
Also true.
That's also true. Yeah, pretty much. And they were expensive. The plastic parts for the original Liberator cost a mere $9.30, but the price of a printer ran thousands. The first Liberator was manufactured using a second-hand $8,000 3D printer. It also took 20 hours to print the clunky frame, and after all of that, it could fire one single bullet before it needed reloading, and its plastic was likely to crack or warp under strain. This is 100% true. The original Liberator was meant to be printed in ABS. ABS, as we all know, is not PLA Pro. It's very different. Hell, if you want to go that route and be like I want that fully printed gun design thing, the Songbird came out not too long ago, and it's a better design. Anyways,
absolutely.
It could fire single bullet, but by 2020, when the FGC9 design appeared on the internet, the price of printers cost a few $100s, and the filament had become strong enough for guns to be fired multiple times. When R. Smith first read about the FGC9, he says, "I honestly thought it sounded too good to be true." And he printed one out for himself. It felt revolutionary. That honestly is very similar to my opinion of how it went when I've just speaking for my own self. When I saw the FGC9, when I saw Ivan post like his first mag dump with that thing, I thought, okay, I was like,
that's right.
There's no actually, believe it or not. I mean, I think I've mentioned this before, but like I had a friend of mine too who told me like he didn't believe it worked, and I had the time, and like, I had a friend from like Brazil, and he was saying something similar too of like, I'm curious about this stuff, but I would never do it. And I'm like, well, I'm an American. I can just build this shit if I want to and see how it works. And I had no knowledge of any like 3D printed stuff, any physics stuff, any of that stuff. I'm more of a bio guy myself. And if I could build it, he could easily do it with a guy who has the ability to machine and engineer and stuff. So I was like, okay, I'll give it a shot. And, sure enough, that fucking FGC9 worked. It worked very well. It was sort of one of those things where I'm like, like, this just doesn't seem right. And honestly, I still have the memory of when I first took that FGC9 out to shoot. I have the video of it. I think I posted a couple times. In fact, The first video I have uploaded on my channel, that FGC9 video, that like first beginning part where it's like me shooting with one hand, that was like my first shot through the FGC9. That was the first shot.
Wow.
And like
Wow.
the sheer amount of fear I had in that one. I remember I told the range ahead of time, I was like, look, I 3D printed a gun. I have no idea what's gonna happen. I there is no way for me to test this thing, but I want to give it a shot. Is that okay with you guys? And they basically told me, it was like, yeah, pretty much. Like, just basically, he says like, if it explodes and like blows up and everything, we're gonna ask you to leave. But if it works, then like,
You're good.
as like, you know, like you do. And I was like, okay, good. And then I fired it, and like, oh my god, that. I wonder if I have the full video of it, of like the 3 or 4 minute long like. Okay, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it.
What are you doing? What are you gonna do?
What am I gonna do? Am I gonna do it? Am I gonna pull the trigger? And like I didn't do it. Like, it took a while, like full 5 minutes of me holding that fucking phone. Like, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. Like this, like shaking, like I'm gonna do it. Here it goes. I'm gonna pull it now.
Had you ever built a gun before?
No, never.
That was your first build.
The FGC9 was the first ever fire.
Build, and it was 100% DIY with an ECM barrel. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I got to tell you, I got to tell you that's real right there. Like, you'd never built a gun before, never printed a gun before, and you build an FGC9 with a homemade ECM barrel, and the first time you shoot it is in a range in front of a bunch of people.
Dude, I remember there was a bunch of so I will say this. Classic. I will say this. So that's rather different. I will add this. If you watch the original video, no, I was a little bit different. I didn't do the full ECM just yet. I got the RP9 barrel because the RP9 at that time was a disaster of a firearm, and those barrels were being sold for less than $10. And
nice.
I was able to pick it up. However, all of the designs for the FGC9 were using Glock barrels, and the RP9 barrel was like this weird. Oh yeah, I guess that could kind of work, right? That was my original FGC9 is so out of spec and shit, man.
That's funny. Well, it didn't blow up, right?
Yeah, it shot. It didn't blow up, but like, yeah, I mentioned that. I was like, in all honesty, but when I built the FGC9, like, I then was like, well, you know, I can do the RP9 and shit and everything too. Like I was like, I can do the ECM stuff. I like my knowledge. I can do chemistry easily. It wasn't that hard, so that's why I did it. And like, in all honesty, that's why I did the whole ECM video and everything, was just because it wasn't as hard as people made it look out to be, and it was like actually not that bad.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely doable, but if you've never done it before. Oh, yeah. Even building your own gun, like, I got to be real. Like, I've shot a lot of sketchy shit, and it
was intimidating.
You know, when I built that, you know, stupid Desert Eagle, like, I was a little bit apprehensive, like, getting out there firing off the first few rounds of that 50 AE. You know, I was like, okay, and like, I'll give you another example. We did the fucking 12 gauge Liberator. There's a couple videos floating around. And that shit fucking I actually had a couple of them blow up on me. Or I mean, not blow up, but the frame broke, and but it's a 12 gauge printed Liberator. It's a Liberator, but in 12 gauge. I don't know if that makes sense.
I remember. I remember that. I think I talked to you about that one. It's like,
yeah,
really, man. Like, okay.
I wore a fucking steel great helm to protect my face because I wasn't sure what was going to happen, man. And a couple of videos I haven't shared were some interim. Like, the first one did great. Some of the interims actually fucking like did not survive. Like, when I pulled the trigger, that shit just went catastrophic. But yeah, like, it was one of these where, I mean, you know, like, something's going to happen. Like, it's going to be epic because it goes off and it's like incredible, or it's going to be epic because it fucking, you know, it destroys its catastrophic deconstruction in your hands. But it didn't hurt me. I didn't get hurt, but you know, it's I mean, that's real shit, man. If you ain't in the dev world, you don't understand. You get out there and print some homemade shit, man. And like, when it goes fucking wrong, Yeah, it gets fucking interesting quick.
So for that Mod 9 video that I built, and this is, I mean, I think I might have mentioned before, but I'll just say this too, because for the Mod 9, the FGC 9 one, that one worked all well, perfectly fine. The Mod 9 one, this kind of like was the main feature, a reason why I did the video on it, because like everything was so fucking all over the place and janky as shit. Because I bought a kit for that one, and the kit had changed from the design frame when it came out. So like,
oh, nice. Huh.
Basically, like I didn't know enough about guns, but like I now when I think about it, perfectly fine, like or like in with like actual like now what I know now, I know why I should have like immediately like no to something, but like the original one that I printed in polycarbonate, and that was again talking pandemic shit. I did my own 3D printer where I did the trash bag method to like make an enclosure. I did some like bullshit to like make it print polycarbonate, and I did that, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna make the most ultimate fucking 3D printing gun ever. And the problem with the Mod 9 at that point was that they didn't explain why it worked properly, but it had the hydraulic buffer and everything, but the hydraulic buffer end cap they had on there was completely wrong and for a completely different buffer cap that did not work at all. And the bolt travel was like barely enough to clear just a little bit for the bolt to escape. Wow. But because I was so new to guns, I'm like, well, they wouldn't publish this. This wouldn't work, right? So when I took that shit to shoot the first time, that end cap went fucking flying past my face, and that like barely skimmed my ear. And I will never forget that shit of like, because then at that point actually like just starting off like 3D printing, like again, me and PSR both started around the same time. I think we were starting to talk to each other around that time, and I remember he had posted his scorpion exploding on him when he did like a wrong print.
Oh jeez.
And I remember like that was his like first video that like really blew up, no pun intended. And I'm like, yeah. Fuck, damn! Like I knew I should have filmed that shit exploding on me, because then I could have had my 3D printed gun exploded on me title, and it would have been great. It would have been perfect. That shit would have gotten at least like. Yeah, at least funny. Like 50,000 views at the very least. I would have got my 3D printed gun exploded, but I didn't do it. I didn't film it, and I'm still mad about that. But that was kind of the inspiration of why I did the Mod 9 video the way I did, because it was just so much shit. And I see some people saying
that's great.
I see really gutted cheese. Really, my video is the one that got okay. Well, that is the sweetest thing I've heard in a while. And also, wild arm. Oh God, wild arms. You're like, okay. Here's wild arms to fucking just to bring us back down to earth again. Of here we are complaining about shooting random firearms. Here's gonna be talking about firing an explosion actually near his face. The adrenaline of firing the Panzerfaust for the first time was a massive adrenaline dump. Only one person had built something similar, and at that time there was a ton of unknowns. I believe when you squeeze the trigger, everything goes white, and the bump was so intense, but the lack of recoil was so noticeable. I would imagine firing. I will say
that shit is fucking. That's the most epic shit ever, man. Like I watch all of Wild Arms videos, man, and like it's just incredible. Like you want a hand ring and pearl clutch over 3D printed guns. Like all right. Well, just so you know, we got fucking rockets.
We can in fact 3D print rockets too. Can your AR beat a tank? What about a rocket? I mean,
we don't need the AR to beat a tank because we got rockets. What the fuck?
No. I mean, I will say before we go back into the story about what we talk about, why J-Shark is an insult, whatever the fuck it was. I will say one thing. The FGC 9 was a scary one for me, and I mean, I even had the Model 9 like literally blow up on me. I guess if you want to use that word to describe it, but. The scariest firearm I think I ever shot was the 3011. Ivan's 3011 when I was in the beta. Because I had never fired. Because I was thinking about it and I realized it at that point too. Was the FGC 9? I felt confident of, the worst that was going to happen was the shit was going to crack. The 3011, I came to the realization of. Worst shit that happens is that slide goes flying off and fucking goes in my eye. And that was my real worry.
Nice.
Of like, I think I know that video is saved on my phone. And I might post it later. If someone tags me about post the first 3011 fire video, I will. It is a 3 or 4 minute long video of me just sitting at my range, like holding it in front of me, just like, all right, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it.
Oh, that's funny.
I'm gonna do it. Any day now.
That's funny.
I'm gonna pull it. I'm gonna pull that trigger. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna pull it now. All right, now's the moment. I'm pulling it. I'm pulling the trigger. Okay, wait. Okay, wait. Is everything right? Okay. No, okay. I'm pulling the trigger now. And like that video is, I still have that one saved up. Like it literally was like a 4 minute long video of me just
That's
like,
funny.
I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. I don't know why that was one that scared me the most, but I think that was the one that was the most scary for me. Anyways,
Well, when you don't have a lot of experience, I mean, I could see that, and that was a revolutionary design. Like nobody had fucking ever thought of that, and that's what birthed the recession Ruger, and a lot of other. That's what birthed the fucking 3D Eagle.
exactly.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, that concept was groundbreaking at the time. Nobody ever fucking thought of that before. I was like, so. I could see where there's a little unpredictability, but we stand on the shoulders of giants, right? And so, we know kind of what works and what doesn't, and what's kind of on the fence right now. So, I mean, this is a golden age. Those that shit with the 3011 and the FGC9, like that was all like really pioneering, man. And you can't take anything away from it. But where we live today, I mean, there's been so much research and development and testing, and you don't have to always be, I mean, by and large, the vast majority of stuff that's out there, you don't have to be afraid of it. There's still some shit that rides on the edge, but it's few and far between.
Well,
anyways, go ahead with your article.
Well, Neil, let's go ahead and read why Jay Stark's a bad person. We should all basically hate everything we do now because he's an insult. Okay, for a long time, no one knew the FGC9's inventor who the FGC9 inventor really was. Jay Stark's online activities were conducted entirely under a pseudonym handle enthusiast, where he helped also start deterrent suspense and all. Whoa, sorry about the fucking Steel Reserve kicked in. Unlike collectively distributed physical firearms, but that was about it. A few months after the FGC9 sign emerged, a reporter for Popular Front, independent journalist, outlets describes its works as grassroots conflicts journalism. I mean, I would argue he's a better journalist than you ever will be. Persuaded J. Stark 1809 to be interviewed for a short documentary. J. Stark 1809 appeared in a balaclava and sunglasses throughout. Even though his voice digitally frazzled, he sounded hectoring and anxious, a doomsday prophet urging everyone to take arms against a sea of troubles. You had to go on the offensive because only you could safeguard your own freedoms, he argued. Just look at the Uyghurs in China. No one's helping them. No one does shit. Or what could help them if they were armed. He also frequently said naive things. If the advancement of technology has no politics.
Okay, again, the axiom here is all wrong. Because you take control of your own safety and your own self-determination does not mean that you are offensive, okay? That just means that you own whatever predicament you were in, okay? And this whole thing of that you're making it out to be like assertive. I mean, it's assertive in your own outcome, but it doesn't mean that you're gonna that means that you're at odds with everyone you run into, or that you're at odds with your everyday man. That is that's basically a misnomer in my opinion. But go ahead.
I mean, this is like we're getting into the whole like now at this point all art is political type of shit of like yeah, I know, like everything is political. You can't have anything that's not fucking political. Anything. Yeah, I'll just have this one up there because this is always the joke of like, oh, well, I got banned Reddit. Oopsies. 1 second. Just one moment there. But it's
What are you doing, AG?
I was gonna post something. I was gonna show something right here. But basically, this is the same idea of everything is all art's political and shit. Of how dare everything is political. Of like, how dare you even notice anything? But he said naive things. That's a really fucking loaded way of saying of like, oh, he's an actual idiot. How dare he even think that anyone would hear what he had to say and not realize how stupid this is. Only bigots would ever. Only right wingers
Yeah.
or that type of shit. Like,
What the
no,
fuck is
no, no. It's like that is true. The advancement technology doesn't have any politics, and I'm going to be 100% honest. He's right about that. To say that the advancement technology, like what politics?
Agreed.
What is the
Agreed.
politics of advancement technology? Please tell me. Like that just seems that sounds smart if you are actually like fucking like retarded. I don't know the right way of saying it. You have to be in a real fucking bubble that you are like afraid of anything and that you only hang yourself around with like political science majors that are so, see politics in literally anything. You can't even drink a fucking soda without seeing some sort of political message in that type of shit. No, advancement technology is not a political fucking thing. But go ahead. The reason why you're saying, and this is why all of this, if you read this on its own, you'll immediately say this is stupid, this is dumb. And that's why they're going to have to throw in, oh, but he also is an incel. And I'm sure they're going to bring up something about racism as well. I bet they're going to find something racist that the Kurds said about some shit. I don't know. But like, there's a reason why this article, like the headline of it was, he's an incel. They're going to bring up some point about how, because when you read this, it's like, this is stupid. I agree with him of like, yeah, no, he's right. Like, no, like just because you said it's naively, that doesn't make it wrong. But you're going to have to throw in that now he's an incel and he said some mean things. And now I'm going to have to believe you. No, I don't. Because what he said was right.
Bullshit.
That's why you have to put all these other qualifiers here. But let's go ahead and read it. He declared at some point, I am extremely peaceful as the footage rolled of him ramming magazine into his FGC-9. The sequence quickly became a meme. Jay Stark insisted that deterrence had no room for racists, xenophobes, but shrugged off at the cost of freedom that the possibility that racists and xenophobes might kill with an FGC-9. I mean, that's just, even with open source is a thing of like, oh, a racist and a bigot might use my web browser. A racist and a bigot might use my software. Okay, you can't control that. You create something, you put it out to the public, and that's it. You put it out there, it's there.
Or what? At the cost of freedom, that you're going to prohibit someone from, killing with an FGC-9? I mean, what's the lesser evil here? I don't know. I would say, from my perspective, the lesser evil is, is at the, and I mean, not like that. It's one of these where our minorities are harder to oppress. I mean, if everyone has equal access to firearms, I don't think that you're going to have a problem with racist and xenophobes killing with FGC-9s.
I mean,
but whatever.
I haven't had I'm sure we'll keep going because we don't want to last forever. But I see someone saying,
Sure.
All art's political, my photography brain. So explaining this photo as I dump the idiot with the photos I've taken. Yeah, it'd be funny. I mean, like, again, I've taken photos of shit like too. They're just random, like fucking camera lenses are just random shit. But yeah, there's probably political message there. That sure, 100%. Okay. There are certain circumstances. Okay, what is it? At moments could be expected raw. There are certain circumstances in my life which are unfortunate, which make living kind of painful. He said, sometimes I do not have anything to look forward to. More details emerge October 21st. Der Spiegel article, which Jay Stark's first name, Jacob. Okay, we're talking about his actual name. He grew up in the German town of Hanover. Earlier that summer, magazine said police had raided his apartment, found 30 prints and many cell phones with no guns. 2 days later, he had found dead in his car. Officials declared his cause of death undetermined. He had a weak heart. One investigator said perhaps excitement was too much for him. After Jay Stark's burst to try to find out more about the FGC and created his full name and motivation by his death, the details police had not divulged. He spent months combining. Okay, so basically it's the 4chan article thing. Twitter forum triangulated posts from multiple handles, picking up textual ticks and poring over cropped photos. Jay Stark uploaded himself. Detective work, all consuming. I've been staying up from 3 a.m. looking at all this stuff about suicide and incels. Barista says,
give me a fucking break.
Incels. There could be incels behind the corner. I hate incels. It's
so stupid.
There's incels there. Incels could be behind this, I bet. Yeah, okay, whatever. At one point, he came upon a post where Jay Stark contemplated killing himself and rated with a shock. Selected Animated Works, an album of electronic artists by Alphix Twins, to be the soundtrack of the planned suicide that hit me because I love. Selected ambient works. I have listened to them for hours on end. Burst says it was so strange to realize the personal connection I had to someone who had been reaching out for countless hours.
Yeah.
And for all the flaws, shortcomings, regardless, whatever you think, Jay Stark was a guy thinking about killing himself, and that's just sad. Okay, great. I'm just gonna, just out of respect, I'll just bring that down. Jerry Sparks finally cracked the case with 2020 or 2023 in a report revealing Jay Stark, born in Kurdish refugees, was depressed, lonely, described incel, suicidal tendencies, who had been at times publicly wished violent deaths by politicians, police officers, and traitors to the German nation. This is no apolitical technologist. In his post, Jay Solis and right-wing terrorism, described Turks as cockroaches. Well, I mean, so do I, but that's important, and wrote Islam ought to be exterminated from the face of the earth. Well, that's a little further, but hey, you know. Okay, so, all right, so here we go. You know, there is something about something, right? Like, it's just, and this is kind of my problem with a lot of things of, okay, you know, so someone might have had a right-wing policy. What is a right-wing policy in Germany? Isn't that, I mean, what even is right-wing in Germany? I don't even fucking know at this point because I'm not German, but it seems like, if I remember correctly, like even what I considered like rather left-wing in Germany was actually supposedly the right-wing conservative party. Who fucking knows? I'm not even going to go even further into that. But he was no apolitical technologist. I mean, sure, people have their own opinions if you want to go deeper into their shit. But the work they create doesn't necessarily have politics in it. It can just be a work to be work. Again, when I use this fucking browser right here, when I use this Brave browser that I'm currently typing into, what is the political work of Brave browser? I don't give a shit. I am typing in words in something that I can find something. If I was a fucking communist, I can find the Communist Manifesto right now and only, you know, communist stuff about, you know, socialized healthcare and, you know, bashing the fash. This browser can serve that faction. But who knows? Maybe the creator themselves are right-winger. What does that stop me from doing these things? No. This is just such a stupid idea. Only like the fact that this continues to be like written as like a serious thought thing, or like, oh, this is a truly groundbreaking thought. No, it's not. This is only smart to people that are so fucking locked in a political bubble, a political lens that you really like. You are 100% pandering to some fucking base that like it's just no. A firearm is a firearm. If I hand this to a child who has no idea about, like, basically this child doesn't even know right from wrong. We can accept that children don't know what is good or bad. Is it a right-wing terrorism if I hand them a gun and they shoot someone, or is it a left-wing terrorism? No, it's a child having handed a gun, just firing something. Not everything has to be inherently political. You are just projecting your own beliefs onto a situation that you do not fully understand. And to be saying that just because he had political beliefs you saw on the internet that you are assuming this is, because again, this article that is not being published right here is supposed to be based off of 4chan posts. This doesn't matter shit. Okay, the FGC9 is a firearm that was designed that can be made by anyone. In fact, they even mention in the very beginning of this article that there are left-wing anarchists and trans activists that use this fucking weapon. How is this all of a sudden now a right-wing weapon? It is, again, it's this type of thing of you're trying to put politics in things where it doesn't actually matter, where it's not actually a thing. And the fact that this is being written as, like, again, this is the main kicker of this story is Jay Stark is a right-wing incel. So that means that anyone that's involved in the 3D printed gun space is a right-wing incel. Well, look, it's not been working so well because it seems like you've been noticing that as well. That's why you put it there, that there are left-wing anarchists and communists and transsexual or transgender people also involved in this community. That it seems like perhaps your theory on this movement isn't actually correct. Maybe you aren't right about this, but you're going to write it as if you're an expert on it. And this is what every single article on 3D printed guns always turns out to be. It's just someone projecting their political opinions and what they want it to be as fact. And because there are journalists at, say, fucking Bloomberg or Forbes or the Boston Globe, that we just accept it as fact. And then it just is what it is now. Now we just accept it as that. It's just, it's one of those things where, I don't know. When you read enough times, it gets annoying because if you are actually involved in the space and you deal with the people that are here, you realize there is truly honestly, third-party guns is the most diverse section of firearms. If anything, you will meet people of every different basis, and you will find that even among the subcategories of people of the left-wing anarchist, or again the transgender population of people that also follows, there is not a set uniform belief among any of those people either. People are just individuals, and it seems like, if anything, I would argue that the 3D printed gun space are mostly hyper individualistic people, if anything. So just to try to categorize people in just these weird broad stroke things. That's, again, the main reason why you're using the incel tag on this is just you're trying to throw this is people that what I'm getting from this is people respect Jay Stark. So if I call him an incel, everyone's going to think if I do this type of thing, I'm an incel too. That's what I'm getting from this.
Well, and there's lots of little underhanded slams, right? Like, for anybody that would be on the fence and like reading this, or uninformed and reading this, you're like, oh, well, he was an incel, so obviously what he was doing is shitty. Or, oh, they're right-wing extremists, so obviously what they were doing was shitty. And so, this is kind of designed to, if you're not really like in tune with what's going on, this is like, oh, well, can't you see that this is obviously like unacceptable, and this is a danger. We can't allow this in our communities. I mean, hell no, we can't be printing our own guns. I mean, what indeed would happen? You might attack somebody or go on the offensive. It's and it's ridiculous, really. I mean, the doctrine of self-defense and self-determination is an inherent human right, and the fact that you would present that as being like you're overstepping, or you are you're being overbearing to your fellow man is completely ludicrous, in my opinion.
It's just a very smooth brain take. I mean, again, if I want to play this like fully, to the level, if I want to be like, truly thinking about this so much. Again, remember, this article also mentioned how all gun owners are like Trump waving MAGA hat, fucking conservative, obese people with fucking camo.
Yes, and don't tread on me.
Don't tread on me.
License plates or shirts or whatever.
Like we could also play this game and go the other way of like Karl Marx says, under no pretext, the right to bear or the firearms should ever be given up. So we can make this whole thing of firearms are actually all inherently left wing in that regard, and then you like deviate. Like again, it's this idea of how you frame it. Of that, of again, there are left wing communists that will say firearms are a crucial part of their life, livelihood, and what they believe of their ideology. And does that mean everyone owns a firearm is communist? God, no, we don't say that. That's stupid. Why would we? Of course not. People have different beliefs, but it's the same type of logic, the same type of thinking that goes into this. Of, well, this person says this, and that's an ideology that believes, so obviously everyone has to be like that. No, God, no. I'm not a fucking lolper. I'm not a libertarian. You'll never see me flying a don't tread on me flag ever. Like that's just it's people are individuals, and I will say this, in the 3D printed gun community, people are more of a individualistic branch of anything. You will see again people that are left wing that will have opinions that will sometimes just shock you in a way of, okay, it's kind of I kind of agree with it. It's just one of those things of, to try to pin it on anything is sort of insane. If anything, the one thing I could say that a lot of people in this community do have that is distinct and different from the rest of the overall said gun community is sort of this, I guess, do-it-yourself mentality of, if I want to be like the DIY, like I can do things my own. Of like instead of like
that's right.
Instead of like buying everything store bought, I'm gonna buy the parts and I'm gonna kind of build it up my own, in a way of like, this is not.
Hell yeah.
I don't have an M&P MP15. I have a hodgepodge of just like AR parts that I put together. Right? Like it's not
free men don't ask. You don't ask the crown for permission. You just kind of get your shit together, and obviously that that is what is enthusiastic to me, is that I would rather make my own than buy my own. And not everybody is like has that mentality, but that intrigues me. Like, it could be fucking anything. Like, it doesn't have to be a gun. Like, if I could build my own car or build my own fucking whatever, that's intriguing to me. I would rather make it than buy it. So, in firearms, it scares people. It's controversial. It's, and I understand why, and especially abroad and in other places that they seek to, not allow people to have that particular right. But I mean, I don't know. I'm not here to pass judgment. I'm just saying that it exists if you want to exercise it.
All I'm saying is, I mean, because I've had this conversation with people too. It's like, I'll tell them, oh yeah, no, I built my AR. I chose this barrel. I chose this upper. I chose this lower. I chose this stock. I chose this thing, and they're always shocked by it. And like,
yeah,
when I tell that to like someone, and like, if I were to tell you the parts kits or the parts that I use to build my AR, I'm sure you would tell them like, oh, it's a good barrel. Like, yeah, no, that's a good like, yeah, no, I've seen that stock for that thing. Like, we would have an actual discussion about like said parts, if anything, right? Of like,
right.
It's less of this other extra stuff that like it just is sort of, it doesn't matter like that. This is what I mean of like, this is what I would see in the 3D printing gun community, is this more or less of people that are more DIY. And that's the one thing that I would say is like a unifying thing that you would see of all of us, is that a lot of us are more of that DIY mentality of, I can do it my own. I'm going to build it my own way, that way I want it to be. And it's, I guess you can argue, people that are like that, they're more, it's more of a self-sufficiency thing of, I kind of want to be left alone type of a thing. I guess, yeah, you could say anti-government in that regard, I guess, but there are left-wing and right-wing versions of anti-government. It's this, what you are trying to do is you're trying to push this in this weird way, or, okay, great. Like, this is always the fucking problem that all these articles go, and I'm sure it's gonna, again, the fact that you are trying to call Jay Stark it, again, because if someone that's hyper individualistic, someone like me, someone like you, UberClay, and probably whatever, how many people are watching right now? Right now we have 31 people. Great. All of us probably will see Jay Stark, and we could see, someone, insert whoever being an incel. And you know what your probable thought is in this is that, oh, that guy's an incel. Great. Well, I'm whoever I am. And you will move on with your life, and then. Because I don't care. I don't view the 3D printing gun community as my only thing in my life. I just view it as, oh yeah, I do 3D printing guns a lot. I do build guns a lot. Okay, yeah, cool. This is the people here I get along with. Wonderful. That's where I'm at.
Listen, can we read this next paragraph, because this is where it talks about the stingray. I wanted to like kind of point that out for everybody.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't miss the whole this whole thing where they said, I believe I saw there was another article that uses, and they used a funnier term than this one. Of it said planning to move to Southeast Asia. They said C-maxing, which is apparently a fun insult term of going to Southeast Asia. I prefer the term C-maxing because Southeast Asia is C-maxing. This one is less funny than the other ones, but basically, yeah, whatever. Yeah, I know. I've read enough of these articles where you can maybe we could have made this one a bingo one, but however, we decided we're just going to drink anyways through this one because fuck me, I hate fucking these type of articles. But such is life. It's been a while, and you guys wanted content. That's just here's your fucking content. Oh yeah,
we didn't promise you top shelf. We just promised you a drink and a.
I am drinking Steel Reserve, and he is drinking the shittiest of eggnog altogether. So you get what you fucking deserve. Anyways, very soon after Jay Stark published his manual for the FGC9, other designers began to riff off of his schematics. One with the folding stock, the Rogue 9.
Looking at you, Durwood. Oh, go ahead.
Hey man, I like. I like Durwood. Okay, yeah, on this channel, we don't have issues with Durwood. If Durwood is listening to this, I like Durwood. I like my Cobra 9. In fact, I've given my Cobra 9 to friends, and they actually enjoy the way it shoots. It does. And I will say this, and I'm gonna make sure I play this out there right now. Someone can clip this and send this to Durwood right now. That Cobra 9 has had about actually probably around like 800 rounds through that thing. And the only jam I had was when I didn't lube it at all. And when I added lube,
I mean,
that kind of actually defeats the purpose of the magnets. I'm just gonna let me finish this one. Let me finish this one. When I added the lube to it, it kind of defeats the purpose of the magnets. Just gonna say that. But when I added the lube to the gun like properly, it runs the best out of any 3D printed gun, like fully, that DIY style gun I've ever had. Life has changed. Why I never made a video on it. Blah 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 blah. But I will say that Durwood, yeah, if you're listening to this, I do like your Cobra 9. I wish I could try your RTT 9, but such is life. Things go on. Anyways, we're going to be talking more about why Stark is a pet, or I guess incel pet. Use the word pedo for this one. Are they going to go that route? Oh, they go pedo for this one. They go that route. They go the pedo route for this one. Okay, interesting. Okay, so the Rogue Knight was the brainchild of someone with the handle of Immortal Revolt. Oh, God rest. And it's another, the Stingray, the longer barrel. Stingray is it's the FGC 9 with a 19-inch, or not 19-inch, my bad. The 16-inch barrel. The FGC 9 normally comes with a 4.5-inch barrel. The Stingray is a 16-inch barrel. It was more because for the United States, because again, 16-inch barrel means you don't have to worry about NFA laws. The Miramar Rebels also uses the Stingray for some reason. I don't see. That was weird. I don't actually understand the reason behind that. If there are any Myanmar people, I don't speak Burmese or whatever the hell you guys speak. But if you have that one guy who speaks English for you guys, hopefully this message gets passed along to you guys. I understand you guys are also communists too. So like just, even still, you guys are doing printed guns. So I'm gonna toss you a solid here and say, I think after 12 inches, 9mm doesn't really go like any benefit. There is a benefit from increasing the barrel length from like 4.5 around to like 12 inches, I want to say. And that's when you get like the peak like velocity change. And then when you add like any more inches past like 12.5, you're adding like maybe 10 feet per second. Like it's like from 4.5 inches to like, I think it's like 950 feet per second to like 1,000 something. Or like it definitely goes up a lot from when you go to like 12.5. I remember someone did a video about this where they were chopping like a 20-inch 9mm barrel down to like 4.5 or something, and they found that like with a chronometer, like 12.5 was like their max level. This is autistic gun stuff that's unrelated. Anyways, we're going to keep going, though. Had the longer barrel. Perhaps the most sophisticated version really was the UberClay. Definitely, for sure. That thing is a...
for sure.
Favela magic. Dreamed up by Joseph the Parrot. Released in 2024. Wow, yeah, what's that time? Oh, man, I miss Parrot Boy. I have to go call him later. Jose, or Joseph himself, chose the handle to tribute to the Brazilian cartoon character. Actually, a fun little fact is my Brazilian friend who isn't from Rio, you would change the word Jose or Joseph to, so the Rio way of translating for like Brazilian names, if your name was Jose or like Joseph, it would be translated to Zé. So that's why it's Zé Carioca.
Z, yeah,
Zé Carioca. Right. So basically, if you were to call someone from Brazil, if you were to say, like, if I call you Zé, that means your name is Jose or Joseph. Joseph turns into Jose, and Jose turns into Zé. And that's a Brazilian name. And Zé Carioca is a very Rio name. So they bring up that I guess he's from Rio or something. But Zé Carioca is it's kind of a joke in Brazil. Like it's a very, very region specific of Brazil. So if you say Zé Carioca, you're basically saying I'm from Brazil. I'm from Brazil, and I'm not only from Brazil, I'm from Rio. So I guess that's where they're going from that.
It.
Yeah. Whatever. Just the Parrot also releases. He chose handle Brazilian cartoon character, was a Brazilian native bird, also known as the ghost bird. There's a little bit of nuance to it. Again, I like Parrot Boy. He's a cool guy. He says it reflects the mocks the label of ghost gun. Some advocates 3D printed firearms loathe the term being coined by critics as a scare tactic. It is 100% scare tactic. That's what it's meant to be.
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
Again, that is exactly what it's meant to be. You can use the power of hindsight now to say, yeah, it's a cringe name that people have. It's like the Latin X of fucking ghost gun names,
right.
Like, yeah, it's gone a completely full circle where people that are in the gun community will use ghost guns because it's more funny to say that. Like, people that are Hispanic will say Latinx because it makes people upset and it's funny. Like, it's gone that full circle around. But Jose described himself as a young adult from Rio. Okay, a typical job like most. He's careful to state that he's never printed a gun and tested himself. Yeah, I mean, he is very,
That's
again,
right.
because that is the truth, and he
Facts.
hasn't. He
Facts,
hasn't.
baby.
You are.
Facts, baby.
I don't like this implying thing that you're doing here because he hasn't. But legally, he emphasized he found it slightly bulky and awkward. Yeah, I mean, yeah. I think it was brought up that he visited the U.S. and I'm not going to go any further than that, but I think it was likely that he probably visited someone that had the gun that built them, and he probably handled it. It also needed some few firearm-specific components that are regulated in parts of the world. Jose has gone into the gun design as a creative hobby, he says, but it's improving. The FGC 9 felt like a pressing task. I mean, again, him improving the FGC 9 is one way of looking at it. He turned his design into something different than the FGC 9. And to call it the FGC 9 is a little bit insulting to the work that he's done. And again, I'll also bring up...
It's disingenuous. I mean, that was the inspiration, but it's very uneducated, and it is uninformed to say that it's just a copy or a remix of the FGC 9. It is a lot different in its inception and innovation.
I'll say this right now because I'm not going to read this whole paragraph because we got a lot of time to go. We have went through a lot of time talking about other bullshit. But basically, this is what I said. Basically, of pretty much, yeah, he basically worked with Americans to build the guns, and he never touched any of them. Pretty much, you know what it is. We've already said that. A manifest, of course. This is the whole new Second Amendment. I talked to Parrot a lot about this. It's a shame that he's deciding a little bit offline because I did want to talk to him again recently. Back up where things are, because again, this was actually a big part of him and the beta process of. I remember him describing to me about this of the new Second Amendment thing of him kind of saying maybe it was a little bit too much, but then he actually read it and then he was like, you know what, I really do agree with this a lot. This is something I really do want. I do want it on there. And then it was, I think, still included on there. And that was kind of it's not actually a part of the gun design itself. It's not actually relevant to itself, but it's more or less an ideology that I guess you could say is closer to what he believes, and it's something that he wants out there.
I'd like to just take a moment that this whole article slants that manifesto, quote unquote, as an American spirit. I'd like to just reframe that and say that that's more of a human rights spirit.
Yeah.
I mean, it's American, but it should be beyond that. I appreciate the fact that you say it's American. You fucking, UK fucking Pajit motherfucker. But let's just talk about the fact that why do you think that has to be American? That should be like a universal human, a universal human, experience. Not something that's characteristically American.
As someone who is again, for me, I see, because I think they're right now doing the Bitcoin conference that he went to in I think in Prague specifically. That's where he was at. I wasn't there for that one. I wish I could go to the Czech Republic. It's fantastic.
Oh yeah, I did see that he did that. I don't. Yeah,
unrelated.
I watched some of the video, but the shit was in Spanish, man, and it's
it's in Portuguese, you fucker.
Or, Portuguese, whatever. I can't understand either one, so it doesn't matter. And I was like, what the fuck, it's like. I actually tuned in because I wanted to hear, what that was all about. But I could, there was no translation available. There might be now, but there wasn't then.
Yeah. Well, I mean, again, I know him a little bit. When again, I respect him as a person. I know where he is. I know where he is politically too. And he to describe the Brazilian politics as like try to put it in this like Western, I guess, view of politics. Things are different. Like it is just different. Of quite literally, it can be most encapsulated as if the criminals have access to these things, why can't I defend myself with these things? It is not
Absolutely.
I'm going to go and kill people. This is like the fear-mongering part of this entire article, which is just a constant theme of this, of I want to be able to defend myself. And that's what his whole thing was. And of course, that's why they're not even showing anything that he says. They are just more or less glancing over all of it. But basically, it is an American spirit of, yes, it is called the new Second Amendment, which is an American thing of the Second Amendment.
Yeah.
But that is its own thing of, again, the fact of the matter is that just the Second Amendment was made. Who was American even when the Constitution was being written? They were technically they were British when that was being made. It is just a common theme that people in just reality feel of, I want to be able to protect myself at any moment. And this is, if I were to read, again, this is how you know it's made by someone who's living in the UK, who's never lived in the US, in that, oh, you're throwing the American spirit in there as a way of, it's almost as a way of to like discredit what they're saying. And this is, again, whatever. I'm just going to keep going because we're only 40% down.
Oh yeah, I know. We're never going to get to any other articles, man.
Well, this one, luckily, this one is actually very short. So I like this one. This one is very short. So we'll get to this one. God. You guys can read that one. But,
okay.
JSTART linked these beliefs distinctly with his 21st dread that we're on the verge of evaporation, trapping into the accompanying convolutions of populist politics. Governments are getting more tyrannical, he said in the Popular Front documentary. Time is running out. See dystopian there. I mean, no honesty, he's not necessarily wrong. Things are getting more and more in that regard. If things are getting more surveillance.
Yeah, they are.
But hey, stop looking into things. Don't deep into this one. Now, what in the actual fuck did I just... Okay, so I'm going to read this next paragraph. And we got here.
I was going to chime in there.
Yeah, because, okay.
On the cusp of what just got framed, as being a fringe theory, we have the quote-unquote alleged murder of the Brian Thompson, right? So, you see the psyop here. It's like, oh... well, governments are tyrannical and time is running out and, blah, blah, blah. And then it looks like we resonated with somebody because somebody went and shot the fucking CEO of United Healthcare. It's like, come on,
let's get into this because, all right, whatever. A similar message has been resonated with extremists before, or who beliefs are hard to classify tidily. Well, no, essentially what this is just saying is... Sometimes when we make our book, sometimes when we make our fucking straw man, things don't actually line up perfectly because reality is different than our fantasies. Shocker! Who would have guessed? Mangione was the man charged of assassinating Brian Thompson. Was a liberal wacko, of course. This is your media literacy, by the way. And people love to talk about media literacy, especially when you go to media like anime and all those other things. I know, but liberal wacko. So the quotation marks here is a very, very crucial to this because when they put the quotation marks on there, that this isn't actually their opinion. This is someone else's opinion. Whose opinion? Oh, Fox News. Oh, well, Fox News. Those are a bunch of crazy conservatives. Great. Thank you so much for that one. You could have said Mangione killed someone with the 3D printed gun. The 3D printed guns are scary things. But now it's the heckin' woke. It's the right wing talking about those woke people. Oh boy. Thank you so much for that. I would have this is just you really I'm not sure if my NVIDIA broadcast is catching me clapping right now, but I am clapping really hard right now. Yeah, you figured it out, my friend. You're right. You figured out all of the American political discourse right now. You're right. And when Mangione did that, every single American who liked guns was with Fox News lock and step and said, that's right, that's a liberal wackout. Yeah, just this is such a fucking retarded. This is the most just dumbest shit I've ever listened to. The fact that this is even written out there, that I am reading an article about Mangione talking about Fox News and wokeism is actually infuriating to me. It's like, stupid. This is just such an out of fucking touch. Like, I again, whenever I do the fucking, what is the fallacies and, the ad hominem, strawmans and shit. Like, this is the most obvious. This is a cut and case, example of a straw man type of shit. Who gives a fucking shit? Like, why are you even bringing this up? You already brought up Mangione, but okay, now we're talking about Fox News in an article that has nothing to do about Fox News. This is just such a fucking pointless thing to do. But then again, to bring up Jay Stark being a heckin' incel is also another thing that's unimportant. The whole point is you're trying to say, these people are these scary right-wingers that you might not realize are right-wingers, because sometimes people on the left will listen to them. There are left-wing people in the gun movement, but don't be too comfortable, because there is a spooky right-wing behind them. This is such a reading this is just honestly infuriating. If this was insert shitlib posting this to a Substack, cool, whatever. No one's gonna fucking read that. Great. The fact that this is being published on fucking Bloomberg of all things as actual fact is insulting. And you fucking, what's your fucking name? Samantha fucking I'm not gonna, what was it? Subaremian. I mean,
butcher that.
The fact that you can look at yourself in the mirror and really pat yourself on the back for really fucking, doing a good job, showing the incels what's what. Honestly, you are a pathetic person, and you should be fucking ashamed of yourself. Of whatever you fucking did in your fucking university for journalism, you are a pathetic fucking person, and you will never be the journalist that you fucking looked up to in your dreams. You are a fucking pathetic mouthpiece of random ideologies that you aren't even fucking aware of yourself either. Honestly, this is the most pathetic thing I've ever read of actual fucking garbage. Your job should be replaced by AI, because I'm pretty sure if I really wanted to do this, I could give them the information I wanted to. I can go to fucking ChatGPT right now and say, but put this with a little bit of an anti-gun spin on this. Your job will be gone in a fucking second. And I hope it does happen. I hope you're fucking working at a fucking Starbucks or McDonald's or whatever you guys call it over there in the UK. Is it Maccers, or is it an Australian thing? I don't fucking know.
Damn.
You are a pathetic person, and your job is such a fucking expendable job that you should be gone. This is such a piece of shit article. But anyways, let's talk about you bring up DEI. At what fucking point does any of this have to do with any of this shit? You might be throwing me because I laughed at your fucking, my heckin' right-wing shit and all this stuff. I don't watch Fox News. I don't vote for Trump or any of that shit. I must be one of those weird, I don't know what ideology I have you on. That's a good thing. We use funny words to describe you as an Indian. Perhaps, maybe, what if I'm an Indian too? Did you ever think about that? Oh my goodness, maybe I'm using those funny words like jeet and stuff like that. What are you gonna do? How is that gonna go? That's what I mean by it. This idea of you're throwing this shit out here. It's just... I'm going to go too deep in a rabbit hole. I'm not going to go any further than any of this stuff, because this is like throwing red meat into a fucking crowd. And this is just why you bring up Fox News and DEI and all this shit and wokeism in this article. There is no point of this except you're trying to pander to an audience that is, this is pandering to an audience, but also trying to throw the guise of being objective. And it's the guise of trying to be objective that always infuriates me the most.
Oh yeah, well, what it's doing is it's definitely manipulative in the fact of if you're kind of on the fence, it tries to align. Well, if you if you're for self-defense, if you're for self-determination, if you're for 3D printed firearms, then you might be along the lines of a right wing. You might be along the lines of an extremist.
You might be a heckin' right winger, pretty much, is what it's doing.
Yeah, right. And that is totally a misnomer. That's not the case, right? Like, just because
we
you
have
want
been
to
getting
defend yourself
shit as a community because of Yeezy Prince being more of a left-leaning person, and him wearing his protect trans kids.
Who is Yeezy?
He is a guy wearing a cowboy hat. Yeah, the protect trans kid shirt. Yeah, I would have never known who that is. As a person who loves 3D printed guns, I've never once that name has never been thrown in my fucking face ever.
Yeah.
Like we have that thrown in our if you are a 3D printed gun person, you are basically thrown as that no matter what.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where I am too left-wing for the gun community, but too right-wing for anyone fucking else. This is just this, like, fucking insane, like, spaghetti fucking soup shit.
Listen, man. This is kind of where it boils down to for me. Is it's like, I'm cool with Yeezy, man. Like, everybody.
I am too. I like talking to Yeezy. He's a great. I love Yeezy.
We're okay with disagreeing. Like, we can disagree. I mean, we don't have to agree on everything. And it's like, at the point that you want to try to force me to do something or
well, I mean, again, this is what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying.
Something like, you've got your gun, I got my gun. We can figure it out.
This is what I'm saying. In most like the 3D print.
Okay.
If you were to use a word to describe the 3D printed gun community, it is again a truly individualistic people of anything.
Absolutely,
people are more individualistic. I have my own opinions. Yeezy's own opinions. I can grab a beer with Yeezy and we can both have a wonderful fucking time and just have a great moment talking about guns and design and other things. Like, we can talk about a lot of things, but like the fact of the matter is that like it's just funny to me of like, if you were to go into the gun community, hell, I think, what is it? Was it Focus Strip, the guy that does all the fucking like live stream shit? Oh, he's got a fun little, he loves talking about Yeezy nonstop. So if you talk about 3D printed guns, you're going to be thrown now into that crowd. But then again, if I talk about guns to any insert whatever community, I'm in the anime community a lot. So if I talk to people about, guns in the anime community, I always get labeled as a far right winger that wants to, I'm literally what this person describes right now as your typical Mangione, as a liberal whack, the Fox News talking about DEI and wokeism and stuff. I get thrown in that category. So I'm put in this weird middle category where people will like keep me at a distance, but like they don't know what to like. You just don't know where you are. It's because, shocker, I'm a fucking person. I have weird beliefs that isn't fucking thrown into an identity. Because I'm just a person. I'm not a fucking, like, insert caricature of whoever you are. I'm not your straw man. I'm a fucking dude. I'm a person who just exists in reality in life. But this is what bothers me the most about all this shit. Is, like, this type of stuff is just... like, you are trying your best to pander to an ideology or pander to a group of people that are so terrified of the right wing, because you're posting this on Bloomberg. Bloomberg is one of the most anti-gun organizations. I'm not going to pretend that this isn't the case. We know how much money Bloomberg puts into anti-gun messaging, and this is a very clear thing. We know where you're doing this with this. That's why it's got posted to Bloomberg of all places. That's why it wasn't posted independently or anywhere
100%.
else. It's on Bloomberg for
100%.
a reason on this, and it's because it's meant to stoke fears of the right. And that's what you're trying to do on this one. And but you're giving off this guise of but I'm from a different country. Oh, I'm from the UK and it's a little bit different. No, it's not. Because you're trying to do this thing where you're bringing up wokeism and DEI. The fact that this paragraph was removed from this article, nothing would have changed. In fact, it would have been a better article itself if it was removed. But of course, It's 10:41. No. It's 10:41. Yeah. Let's keep going. Let's keep going.
Let's keep going. A roll there, AG. Come on now. Let's do it.
So I just read the chat. Someone just said someone said, I like this version of AG. No, you don't. No, you fucking don't. Because I'm going to say shit's going to get me canceled.
Oh yeah.
This is the type of shit that gets me canceled, bro. But
we're just getting into the groove right now. Go on, man. Yeah. What do you got?
Okay, so Yevang's basically okay. Great. We're talking about the New York brothers. Are okay, cool, whatever. That's a prison. Okay, I'm not gonna read any further about any of this shit. But Associate Professor of Political Science at the Royal College of Canada. Oh God, I think I read this one before recently. This God,
the Yannick, whatever.
This was a year ago, and I did a live stream on this one. And as someone who was before I got where I'm at right now in my life, I was a researcher. I was
race riots in the British town of Southport.
I was a researcher. I was a researcher, and when I read this fucking research paper that got published, especially with the fucking misspellings and fucking grammatical errors in this shit, I was infuriated that this shit got published and was actually no. And I will repeat this again. Whoever this Vili Lepoxers, you should be fucking ashamed of yourself as a fucking person who is you are a failure of a fucking researcher. That is the worst fucking research paper I've ever read in my life. That should have never been fucking published. You are a pathetic fucking person, and that is the fact that you only got that fucking published because of the heckin' right wing shit, and the fact that you're even getting a shout out in a fucking Bloomberg article. You should. I hate to do the whole. In fact, allow me to take some things from my friend over here, Mr. Indian Man in the UK, the DEI fucking shit of your fucking research paper, your fucking atrocious fucking rag that I wipe my ass with. Fucking research paper being included in this fucking article is the equivalent of DEI of a fucking article of a research paper, because anyone that reads that has any knowledge of research papers and what goes into sort of standardizing or methodology will read yours and say, well, this doesn't seem right. Well, this seems like an awful generalization. How is this even getting published? So no, this is fucking pathetic, and especially when it says fears have been prompted some activists when queers. Okay, whatever. Okay, what were you gonna say? I'm sorry, I'm getting a little more mad.
I was just going to have a shout out to Telegram, because Telegram is it's probably the most extremist platform I've ever seen. And I advise all of you to investigate it, because there is crazy shit on Telegram. However, lit up with FGC 9 designs. I have never seen that on Telegram, by the way. And I have seen a lot of crazy shit on Telegram. This whole thing just gets really, really interesting. Explicitly framed as tools for self-defense against racist violence under slogans as such because racists aren't bulletproof. I mean, I don't know if I disagree with that, and I don't know if I really have a problem with that, right?
Should we throw Zona a fucking message right now quickly?
I mean, look, I get it, it's like, armed minorities are harder to oppress, right? If you're marginalized, quote unquote, maybe there's something you could do about that, right? I'm not, a lawyer. I'm not giving you legal advice, but there are some
shocker.
Places.
Having an ability to fucking defend yourself protects you from being attacked. Who would have fucking guessed that?
Man.
Yeah, I saw a fucking thing recently where there was a UK push for pepper spray to be legal. Again,
I mean, fucking.
Wait. I said careful on the thing I said. I said, bring back pepper spray again. That's the thing, was pepper spray got banned, and now the push is, hey guys, what if we could have pepper spray again now? To stop the attackers. Well, the fact that we even have to have this entire there's so much shit about. We can go deeper down this stuff, but again, now we're going into this thing of again. The heckin' right wing and racists are doing this because they aren't bulletproof and shit and all sorts of stuff. But again,
let me. I mean, I'm gonna wrest this away from you a little bit. This goes on to talk about the whole. I mean, this article was very widespread, and it touched on a lot of different points. That's what made this Bloomberg article unique, and it was very shallow. There were areas of it that weren't researched very, very well. But I did think it was interesting that they referenced so many very obscure little points. Going forward to where we are in this reading, it talks about, there was a letter, the pocket of trans people within the 3D2A has revoked its own resistance inside the movement. Last year, Joseph Parrott and several co-signatories published an open letter decrying vocal individuals steering the conversation towards identitarian propaganda. So, like, I remember when that happened. I think that this is, is kind of like a divisive issue. I kind of agree that, like, and I want to reiterate what I said earlier, where we have a saying at Deterrence Dispensed and at the catalog, which is like, we're here for the guns and everything else can fuck off. And that what that means is that, I appreciate where you're coming from, and I want to help in your movement, but that doesn't mean that is like, the focal point of what we're doing. And, if it aligns with what we're doing, great. But, what I want to do is I want to provide the universal human right for self-defense and self-determination to all peoples, regardless of where their background is from, and regardless of what they believe in. And, this applies, to this particular paragraph. I think that sometimes people discount the 3D2A movement because they see different lifestyles and different people like involved in them, and it's like a put off. But I encourage you to look past that, because what you see like a conglomerate of humanity and a conglomerate of different ideals, a conglomerate of different mentalities. And, no one person is less deserving of those human rights than another. And if we're really going to be at our core essence, and really be true to those beliefs, man, like, everyone has that right. Everyone should be, given the same tools to ensure their livelihood and to ensure their freedom and life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. The whole thing where we try to designate a group of people to, like, dehumanize, or designate a group of people to, like, justify taking away those rights, is bullshit. And recognize it for the psyop that it is. Because just because, you're black, you're trans, you're gay, you're fucking whatever, doesn't mean that you don't deserve, or you're not entitled to, the same human rights that all of us have, or that God gave you. Just because, like, the psyop is, because of this or that you've transgressed, and it should be abdicated from you. That's bullshit. And this is controversial. Maybe you don't agree with that. That's okay. I mean, I am not here to convince you. I'm not here to try to say that, like, you're wrong and I'm right. This is just how I feel. And I encourage you to look deeper. I don't agree with everything that some of my compadres believe in. I probably don't agree with everything, AG believes in, but I want to tell you that, like, I want this, we need to be advocates for each other and for a community as a whole, that the things that we try to propagate and that we try to convey, to the community at large. I mean, these are real human rights issues, and this article tries to kind of poke fun at that, and I think that the divisiveness of this is at a I don't know, it's like a it's something that tries to derail what we're trying to do. But I encourage you to look past it. You don't have to agree with the lifestyle. You don't have to agree with the decisions of the individual. But in order to, it's like the internment camps of the Japanese in 1940s. These people, like, they were wronged, and like the entire opinion was like, let's deprive these people temporarily of their rights. That shit is like what I see occurring in our country today. It doesn't mean that because someone subscribes to a particular mentality or a lifestyle that they should be deprived of their basic human liberties. I'll just leave it at that.
Well, I mean, I'll say one thing because I do. This is more of my autism right now being clicked back in as I see someone bringing up was this guy a sleeper cell because this is really obscure lore, and the answer is it's a very fascinating thing because you are to people that are really like locked in or tuned into shit. Yes, this was the thing that you probably remember. To your average population, hell, if I were to throw this up into Fosca and say, hey, do you guys remember this shit? They are going to look at this and say, the fuck are you talking about? What? What? Huh? Hell, when we go to the next article that's supposedly here, and this one's going to be a very fucking quick skim guy. In fact, this one I should want to bring up in this one is yes, it is 100%. I think this guy was a sleeper cell type of shit. And yeah, I 100% agree with what UberClay says. Perhaps we do disagree on a lot of things. We haven't really argued too much about other things. We haven't really talked too much besides other shit, in all honesty. But I will say one thing, though, is, I did see something here right now that was a little bit interesting. Is the one activist who runs a YouTube channel with more than 100,000 subscribers and 100 videos in which she test fires 3D printed guns, sometimes while wearing pink bathrobes.
Yeah, who do you think that is?
I'm not sure, but that appears not to be me.
It's that one that one chick, man, in New Mexico or something. Fuck, man.
Is it the other AG?
Is it, man? I have to think about it. I haven't seen anything new from them in forever. But they were all the rage 2-3 years ago.
Well, man, I clicked on that link where it says the placards in social media, in which this is, I think, like 100% a Zona edit. But this is a Zona edit.
That for sure is.
That is a Zona edit, and congratulations, Zona. You got your mention in this article, I guess.
Right.
I think this is Zona edit. And then the parrot. I remember the parrot one of like again. I remember very clearly. Quickly, briefly going over that one. I remember that when that happened specifically. I remember Parrot messaging me around that time of being kind of confused with that. And I remember it was basically like his whole thing was very clearly of, look, I don't understand American politics or whatever is going on in the US that much, but like I kind of just want to talk about guns was sort of what he was like his whole like I guess like the thesis of that entire letter. That's which is I think why maybe we can go really deep into why people decided to sign on stuff. But that was more of Parrot himself having his own opinions of, I don't get what's going on right now, but I just wanted to talk about guns, and that's my thing. I don't understand U.S. politics or whatever is going on in America and all these other things, but what I do know is guns, and I would prefer if we all go back to guns. And that was his whole thing. That was what that letter was supposed to be. True. And that was kind of like his whole thing. And maybe we can go into depth of why everyone else signed into all of that stuff. And we can go really deep into all of that stuff. But really his whole thing was, I don't get what's going on. And like, I just want to make guns. And why are people talking to me about other things? Like, I'm going to make this as this. And that was his thing. And that was it. And that was essentially... Again, it's a really odd thing. And, again, someone brought up, this is a really fucking niche thing to bring up right now. And in fact, it very much is.
It's bugging me, though. It's like, the fucking...
I was there for it. So, like, I'm going to give some context to this because your typical, like, journo person is not... Like,
Come on, AG. What the girl in the bathrobe though? That wasn't fucking Zona. That was the fucking. You know,
AG,
she was like in.
I thought it was AG. I thought it was the other AG. AG off grid, right?
AG? Was it AG? Was that her name?
I thought it was the other AG. The other AG. The BLC one, right? It was BLC.
Yeah, maybe you're right.
That was
about
AG
that.
off grid.
Yeah, AG off grid. That's what I was looking for.
That was the BLC one. Yeah.
That's who that was. I haven't seen anything from them in forever, man. Are they still around?
They made some interesting things. I remember. They were doing something. This is a Gage question now. Now we need to go grab moderator Gage and throw him some fucking DMs.
Honestly, though,
that is a moderator Gage question.
Yeah, I'm not like quote unquote like in depth in BLC, but like I'm like kind of around, and I don't know if I've seen anything from them in forever, man.
Sounds like AG leaks or not AG leaks. No, that's AG off the grid. I know. Yeah, shocker.
AG off the grid.
Funny thing, we have a lot of AGs in this community. Goofy thing, but I will say this specifically in this because I realize right now in this situation, as I'm saying this right now, we're bringing up the letter situation, and I was currently there in this situation when it was happening, and I do remember it very well. Because I remember Parrot did reach out to me around that time as well.
Yeah,
maybe he did to you as well.
Yeah.
But because I was talking to him because around that. I'll talk to you a little bit more off camera about things, but it was a different time in my life and things. But this is just when I reached out to him too as well, and he had this was around when he was really trying to work with I think a lot of us as I guess I don't want to say what this is more of me in my current situation of work of I want to say Western speaking, but I want to say of more or less English speaking. Of he didn't really speak much English at all at this point and all. I'm just gonna be honest about it. His English has really improved a lot from when I first spoke to him to now when he was doing the Baron, whatever the Bitcoin thing was in Czech Republic. But when I spoke to him around that time, that was when I first spoke to him, and he was just some Brazilian dude, and he spoke just a very basic amount of English, but this is around that time where he was kind of just. There was a lot of because I speak a very basic amount of Portuguese. I speak a lot of Spanish where I could understand what he was saying, and me and him both got along because of that. And there was a huge language barrier of things going on with him, and a lot of the American, I guess designers and developers and American 3D printing gun community, if anything. And it was just really that letter more or less came from him being just confused. If I could best describe it was just him being confused with what was going on.
That's definitely one way to put it. And I understand where he's coming from because, that this is a difficult subject for Americans, much less Brazilians, much less different people across the world. So, humanity at large struggles with this conversation, but there has to be a separation of lifestyle with inherent human rights, and I get it. Somebody may not do or act the way that you think they should, but that does not determine that whether they are a person or whether they deserve whatever human rights are inalienable from God, right? And you just leave it at that. So there one of the things in the 3D printed gun community that trips a lot of people out is that because they might get the gist that there is and I don't think it's a predominance, but I think there is a pretty large influence of alternative lifestyle accounts that, reflect building guns, designing guns, participating in this process that, they think that's, and that was the force of the letter, that 3D printed guns is not an alternative lifestyle, endeavor. And I think that's. I appreciate the force of that letter, and I agree with it. I don't think that it is. I think it's a human rights. I think it's a humanity issue. It doesn't have anything to do with lifestyle. And so, and that is a tool that the enemy uses to devise and to get us to fight amongst ourselves, right? Is to say, well, this person isn't the same as you because they live a different way, and they're not human, or they're below you, and so they're not deserving of the same rights as you. And that's a lie. That is not true. Just because someone participates in a different lifestyle as you, they're still a person. That's still God's child. They deserve everything, in a portion as you. And that doesn't mean their decisions are wise or right or smart. And maybe yours aren't either. I mean, it goes both ways. So I encourage you not to allow that to cloud your thinking. And, I don't know. It's still.
I'll say this. I'll say this too, because again, I do. Again, maybe I was a little bit lucky in that regard. I guess I did get to talk to them a little about this in this regard of like it was just more of perhaps it's more of my background of a heckin' third worldism type of again third world mindset of I'm a lucky boy in that regard. I don't have to deal with it as much as the people I know in my lifestyle and backstory and all this other stuff. Is that again for him? His whole thing is again oppression in that regard. Of basically, I understand like where I'm in my life, and for him, oppression is different than what people in the U.S. view it as. Of oppression for him is specifically, and even in Brazil, and as someone who has done research in genetics and things like that, Brazil is and honestly, it's a unique place in a lot of things. I'm not going to go too deep into it. Again, this is what I mean by I have a research background, and I understand research very well. That's why I got very annoyed by that fucking that article that I said would wipe my ass with and shit. Like Brazil is an extremely also not even that like a very multiracial nation too. Of people are very
no, that's true.
People are very mixed in that regard. So to like throw in racial things in Brazil is very unique. But like Brazil and all these other places, his whole thing is I'm oppressed by whatever the government and all these other different things, and I want to protect myself. But he himself, I guess, views himself as just some normal dude in that regard. Of sure, he's a straight man and all these other things in that regard, but his whole thing is, I know what the Brazilian government does. They go after basically law-abiding citizens, but favelas and all these other things could exist, and those people also will go after me and all these other things. It's all these things added up into one of like, I just want to live my life and be myself and just be able to be who I am today. Let me just live off my own. And that's sort of his mindset and things and like that. And in the U.S. and other countries where we have a lot of things like, almost, I don't want to be rude or harsh or even, we can do this in other ways of this, of like, maybe xenophobic of we have a little bit more of a society in a way of, in the U.S., like I hate the fucking police in the U.S. I will say that right now loud and clear. But I understand that, like, I know my rights in certain ways where things can happen to me and I'll be fine. In Brazil, you can't guarantee on that being a thing.
Oh, fuck no.
and that's sort of the Brazilian mindset and sort of the Latin American mindset in the way of, you talk to someone from south of the border of the United States and you can find a similar thing in that regard. And when you hear that type of a thing and you hear whatever the U.S. complaint of things are, it sort of becomes kind of like you almost kind of wanted to say like, yeah, shut up, dude. Like, you know what the fuck you're talking about. Like, there is so much worse shit that can happen in the world right now, and you don't know.
Oh yeah, for real.
And that's honestly, by the way, I was just quickly like went through a little bit of this, all this stuff, and basically we're just going through the whole article and stuff, and then it's more or less of just the containment of everything. There's nothing really to go read more beyond this in that regard. But so I'm just gonna kind of finish on that because this is a very unique thing. Also, I saw something talking about the parts kit debate, which is a very interesting debate. So this guy must have probably joined around this time. Because I was talking to Parrot.
We're just drinking and bullshitting, really.
Well, because I was well, that's sort of where this was going. Because we're going to spooky gun stuff. I mean, in all honesty, I'll go into this one a little bit just because, again, I think this is what got Gage banned, and this is a very short one. But the Bloom or the other one you guys can read on your own. I'm not going to read it right now. But specifically for that article case, because it has been almost a year. Yeah, that was like.
Wait, are you going to a different article?
Well, not yet right now, but
okay.
This whole I will go to the Forbes one very quickly because this one is very short, and that's the Facebook.
Where are you
one.
at?
But I'm right now where it was. We were at the parts kits debate of.
Okay.
It was right around here where the major American deals, but the parts kit conversion. That's where we were at. But I will say this because again, if you. For the people that are here at this time right now, we have about, what is it? Okay, so concurrent viewers right now, from like right now, we have about 19. Okay, so you guys that are here are right now the most hardened and like, you are probably into it. You probably know what we're talking about because you were probably there yourself. And I get that. And in that case, there is really no point of going over this. But let's say this. I'm going to put this in the live stream category. So whoever reads this or watches this will be able to read this and all other stuff. But yeah, this was a fun little debate. This was Parrot's drama himself. This was his drama that he wanted to be out there because this is the thing that he was passionate about, was about the parts kits and parts kits being a hindrance in developing things, and why he hated parts kits because parts kits almost, I guess, incentivized laziness in 3D printed guns. And I know you as a parts kit developer, you shut your mouth right there because you are going to listen and learn because Parrot is not here right now, so I will speak for him. Okay.
I mean, in a lot of ways, he's right. But
listen and learn. Listen and learn. I have listened to this conversation too many times, and I heard Parrot Boy's version of this enough times where I will.
Yes,
I will throw it on you. But
let's go, bro.
Parrot's view of again is this was more or less because I spoke to him privately a lot about things, and we're at. So, okay. So at this point, if you're at this point, you're more passionate than anything else. Parrot had issues with a lot of developers. Yeah, Parrot had a lot of issues with developers, like including and particularly like even mostly Ivan of all people of the whole. He really hated the Plastikov as a thing of like he respected Ivan for doing it and doing what he could with it. But it was such for him the Plastikov V3 or V4, whatever we're on right now. Was like it's such a extra thing that is so when you think about what Ivan was doing with the FGC9, specifically in the FGC9 Mark II project and everything, for him it was like but why can't you keep doing more, I guess. And I wish I could have him right now here to speak for us on that regard, because that was something we talked about.
That's exhausting, man.
Because it is exhausting, but again, and this is sort of what I was talking about in the very beginning of the stream, of people that are behind enemy lines have a certain passion that people that aren't behind enemy lines don't. Well, and that's it is where like if Parrot was here in the United States, I genuinely believe this. If he was here in the United States, like if we were to swap places, me and him personally, and like I'm living in Brazil and he's living in the United States and where I'm at, for like at least a month, even right now, he would probably advance 3D printed guns at least like 5 years of he would go out of his way to just go extra and like push things where like, okay, what barrel designs go like his very unique focus on certain issues that he found on his design that Smith was telling him that he could now build on his own and like focus on specifically himself. Because when I had some firing pin issues, I messaged him privately about it, and we were going really in depth about it. And then we both figured out the issue was the barrel or the bolt from V. Basically, the Fudbusters math design for bolt carrier is significantly better than the one that we had from V, because I misdrilled it by like just a couple millimeters. Now, this is more of anything of like, or Smith, if anything, of himself is like being a really good fucking beta tester. And maybe, and this is, and if Gutter Cheese is still here, by the way, I'm not looking at the chat right now, but if Gutter Cheese is still here,
probably not.
If you are like really that good of a beta tester and like you understand what you're doing, that in of itself is not the best thing. You want the guy that fucks up. For your beta test and for the guy who's doing shit and who's going to make the thing for everyone, you want the guy that fucks up. You need the guy who's going to mess. You need the guy who's like actually retarded, who's just going to fucking drink a fucking bottle of fucking Steel Reserve and get a fucking drill bit in his hand and drilling it. And that helped a lot actually with Parrot stuff. And that like Smith was such a good tester that he did everything just so perfectly. And when I fucked up, Parrot took a lot of things into consideration and realized, oh, wait, I have to fucking change this shit right now. Okay. Oh, see, Gutter Cheese is still here, actually. But is he? He's still apparently awake. But yeah, but like it was sort of like you do need that guy that fucks up. You do need the guy that fucks up and like messes things up, and that you as a developer can work around him. And in that case, you can make a design that's truly, truly idiot-proof. And that's like my thing with Parrot. That was where me and Parrot really kind of meshed well. That I would piss him off, actually. And I would send him like horrible shit that he would make me very offended by. But it was great. And I think that was where the hold up version came up from, more or less, actually. But no, yeah, like there's a lot of things that go into design work and stuff like that. And specifically apparently, and that was his big controversy with like the whole parts kit stuff, was that people, especially in America, in the United States, where we can just like, yeah, the KP5, which is the Ivan's version of the MP5, very, very good design. Yeah. Honestly, I would argue it's a better version of the MP5 in that regard. That you get the AR-15 fire control group. If you ever shot a MP5 with an MP5 fire control group, you'll realize, oh, the MP5 trigger is garbage. It's actually shit. Like the HK trigger that it comes with is absolute garbage. And if you can just get if I can just 3D print a like housing for a fire control group, so I can shoot with an AR-15, like the average mil-spec AR-15 fire control group is way better than the standard SP5 fire control group. It's atrociously bad. The reason why you want the MP5, like the reason why the MP5 fire control group is okay and acceptable for like the military and all that shit, it's because it's full auto. And when you have full auto, and like, yeah, who gives a shit, right? You're like, yeah, you're pulling the MP5 is a very flat shooting gun, so you have in full auto, it's still pretty flat. That's not important though. But like that is kind of when that sort of mindset was going on when he was making the Urutau, and that's when I was talking to him the most about this stuff. And I see. And that was kind of where he was really feeling it more of anything else, of like because me and him would have some conversations, like a little bit deeper conversation about things. And that was his thing with the whole parts kit stuff in particular, was it sort of is making people lazy specific for him. And again, when you take that step back, of like and this is my opinion. I saw Gutter Cheese also bringing this up too, in his own point, and I agree with him too. Of like, honestly, and for me, and for you probably too, UberClay, we want more people to build guns, right? We just want
True.
more people to build things, and whatever level you are,
yes,
you can do it and you can build it. And I want you to do it because in that case, like hell, someone like Unseen Killer, you've been working with him the most probably than I have. But for me, I'll speak from my ignorant view, and you can correct me all you want. But he started off as, again, like some guy doing remixes, and then he really started going out of his way to build his own things, and then has made things of his own that are unique, and that is his thing. And he's
absolutely.
And in that regard, that's a good thing, and that's something that we should, in all honesty, encourage. That's why when this stream started, I said I want you to talk about it because I do want. Well, when this does get uploaded, people will probably watch like the first 15 minutes, and hear you say that. Like, oh wait, you're telling me this guy does this?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I'll watch that. That's why I wanted you to do that. But
like,
go ahead and say what you're saying.
Listen, I appreciate Parrot's position on the parse kits. That's relevant. However, we have to continue to fortify the base in the Americas. Parts kits build is one of the lowest common denominators that gets people into the hobby. We get people into the hobby. We teach them CAD. After we teach them CAD, then they begin to branch out and do DIY designs. So we can't get more DIY designs unless we have more parts kits builds to pull more people into the hobby. And as far as the Americans are concerned, so I understand the frustration, but you cannot start year one devs on DIY fucking blowback 9mm. I mean, that just doesn't work. You have to start year one devs on, building guns and doing remixes. And then, year two, year three devs, maybe they can do DIY fucking 9mm. And so, I sympathize with that position, but where my heart's at, my heart is at, because what was a struggle for me was being a new guy and getting the education and the guidance to level up. And so that was a real struggle for me when I was like brand new, and that's where my heart's at today. So I want to take the guy that doesn't know his ass from a hole in the ground, and I want to teach him how to run a printer, how to draw in CAD, how to make a gun, right? And I get it. Like, yes, we all need to be focused on how we can help the Europeans, how we can help the Brazilians, how we can help the fucking Africans, the fucking Chinese. Like, let's make guns, let's win your independence. But we can't do that from nothing.
And and that was, and I'm happy to bring that up because that was exactly what it brought to Parrot. And I think that was always our arguments together too. And that was always what it would go down to. It's like I know what you're saying, and like in all honesty, it always came down to this in the most boiled down way of it, it would be of but like, aren't you happy we have Americans that are going out of the way to like learn and build things? And he would agree with me. He was like, yeah, you're right. And like, I see what you're saying. And like, and I think Gutter Cheese, by the way, for some reason, I guess I didn't. You should be a moderator of anyone. Like, you are actually like someone that like you should be there too. Like, you 100% should be one. So I make sure I fix that right now. You're gonna have the little stupid little wrench on next to your name. Sorry, I had to push you there. You had to do it. But he was bringing up something about Maker's Match having issues with the math barrel specifically. And yes, you're right. And that's the problem that we were getting into, like me and him as well in particular. So the math barrel had issues. And like, again, Parrot is a guy who's like fully DIY. And I think around midway through it, he started realizing with V specifically, it was like, okay, well, maybe it was one of those things where I remember I was telling him it too, of like personally, of you should. I am not alone to say this, and I know for a fact I'm not alone to say this. If I could support you with parts kits to continue what you're doing right now, I would continue to help you out, and like people would as well. And that's why I think maybe that's why I started going to the parts kits wide or side of things. Of all right, I'll do it as well. The math one was one of the better ones, but even still, the issue with that is when it comes to DIY design in particular, of you
Yeah.
accept the
And
fact of a part of it is on me. If there's an issue with the if there's something that goes wrong, it's kind of my fault because I built it in. Shocker, I guess. Maybe I wasn't
oh yeah,
perfect at it, and in that regard, I expect that and I respect that. But when it comes, and that was kind of this was an argument me and him would have a lot too, of like with parts kits, because I would also try to play like devil's advocate for him too as well sometimes, when of like also a devil's advocate in that regard is that the average consumer will buy a parts kit and will assume that it just works perfectly fine from the box. And when it doesn't work perfectly fine from the box, then there's going to be issues. I'm going to blame you 100% for it. And
yeah.
Gutta Cheese has brought up an example, honestly, a perfect example of that. He was saying that there was some out of batteries happening going on with the math barrels for the FGC9 stuff. And that, yeah, that is a thing that did happen. 100% that's something that did happen. It happened to 3D Print General, his channel, rip his channel. And I believe that also happened to PSR when that happened, was the FGC9 barrels from AF that people were having out of batteries because the barrel blanks coming from MAF were not, I guess, up to spec or something. Again, I did ECM barrel, so I never had this issue myself. But
Interesting.
that
Yeah.
was when that was first coming out, was having a MAF barrel or a thing. And he was saying, I guess, the Oratel also had this issue as well. So I did not experience this issue myself. But I guess in the Makers match, I guess. Yeah, guys, Makers match resulting in firing the MAF barrel spec, same as the FGC9 documents. I didn't have that issue. But if you were to have that issue, then who are you going to blame, really? I mean, you could blame the manufacturer, but in reality, it's the Oratal, and you're going to probably blame Parrot himself.
I mean, yeah, possibly. Yeah.
And that's
Possibly.
usually what happens.
Yeah.
You blame the person that you know the most, and it's the seller or is it the
No,
person?
that's true. If you didn't make the barrel, and you bought a parts kit, it would probably be an easy jump to make, to say, well, the design is not, you know, I don't know, foolproof or whatever. So yeah, I'm not really aware that the math barrels you had a problem, but I mean, it's possible. And there, listen, there's a lot of variance. I mean, tolerant stacking is a thing, right? We see it in even manufacturers' parts kits. I see it in stuff made by Ruger. I see it in shit made by Smith and Wesson. There is a potential to tolerant stack, and you happen to get like a 3D printed design that it doesn't work as intended, because I had to update the People's Ruger, which is a P95, because it turns out the shit that was made in Prescott, Arizona, was different than Connecticut. They had a whole other plant that was making shit that was like in a whole different spec. So, I'm not I'm surprised, but I'm not. I don't know the whole background on that, but I will say that this is why we test. This is and for the People's Ruger, the update was post release, because NPR Tech was like one of the first ones. He was like, yeah, well, like all the slides that come from this manufacturer. He was like, because I texted him and I had heard it from a couple other people post release, and it turned out that Ruger ran a fucking plant, and it was in a different state, Connecticut, as opposed to Arizona, and like everything that they produced was like on its own completely different spec, and it was like a very small percentage of what Ruger produced, because like I have at least a dozen, if not 15 or more frames, parts kits, whatever to like test, and I don't have a single one of from Connecticut. Anyways, the idea is that they had a different blueprint that they were producing to. So,
Well, I
you know,
will say one thing. I mean, again, I'll finish with one right here. It says 3-2A is riddled by American ideals. Okay, great, wonderful. Shut up. That being said, that's what I'm going to add is MI5 and also the
yes,
far right extremists and stuff. Where they're basically trying to
yes.
find the people who are latter was probably by the conviction of director of British semester. All of this is like some bullshit, like fear mongering stuff, and basically American ideals. Great. This one, I will say one quick thing for the second one, just going through this real fast. The big thing was it brought up the 3D2A dispo. Where was that right here? Depot. The guy who was in charge of this one, I think he got like fucking charged for some. There was a lot of bullshit with that one. I think he got charged for trying to sell like legit machine guns, like full like auto sears and stuff, and there was a lot of weird shit going on with this and all this stuff. The whole Mangione case thing where things happen, raids and all that other stuff. And the big thing that I think is the most important right here is we're talking about Discord and Facebook, the 30%
Oh, nice.
DPO right here. X, and they talk about X and Elon Musk's whole free speech and Black Lotus Coalition members. And this is where Gage gave like a very take, if anything, where it was, but he spoke to them very lightly, and Gage got banned. And that's where this goes, and that's where I'm saying and this all kind of goes into a bunch of other different things. But I just want to get this one out of the way. Is because like this one is kind of like semi-interesting enough. But I feel like we talked a lot of I honestly think for those who actually care about like printed guns and the printed gun community, we probably talked a lot about shit that got sort of brushed over a bit. Like that whole letter stuff was one of those. The fact that I even saw that there is kind of interesting. And like I can go even further about that type of stuff, but like I'm not going to go into it. But like there's a lot of other things of like this type of stuff, like the parts kits debates and stuff like that.
Listen, man.
Go ahead.
Like full disclosure, like I'm pretty drunk at this point, so. Like, you just take everything I've said for the last fucking 2 hours with a grain of fucking salt. And, AG would probably be right there with me. I mean, we've had, this is what this was, is we were gonna drink and bullshit. So,
we had our rails, and the rails were whatever this article was, and we chose 3 articles, so we didn't know how long it was going to take. Of like,
look,
we were going to stay with one article, and then go ahead.
If I said something that pissed you off, I apologize. But this, you get to know me, I'm going to do that quite a bit, and so I'm not doing it intentionally, but when I drink and I get fucked up, like I'm just gonna like I don't have a filter. And this is why I do this thing, man. It's because like I want to like give you guys feel comfortable, like be yourself, man. I mean, I get it. Like you don't want to get canceled, but fuck, man, you got to do your thing. So do your thing, print some guns. Do the thing.
I guess for me, and I'll close it out too in that point because we're about I don't know how many hours in this. But the main point for me too is
4.
We're not 4 hours. We're not. I can check right now. We are 3 hours and 26 minutes. But that's unimportant.
3.5, almost 4.
Yeah, almost 4. You were saying 4.5, you fucker. But what I was going to say was this. Again, the big thing is with that. I'm with him too in this regard. Someone was bringing up how earlier you were getting a little bit of a different side of me because I am rather passionate about a lot of these things. Believe it or not, I made a channel for a fucking reason. There was when I first started this out, it was one of those like there was a little bit of like rage with like certain articles and shit of how things are being made and trade that made me make things in the way I did. But that's not the point of all of it. Of that, in that regard, is I have my own opinions on things, a lot of the stuff, and I see whenever like it's just such a blatant. It's just an obviously blatant hit piece that is meant to, I guess, like it's like jiggling keys in front of a child. If I throw right wing, incel, DEI, and all these other fun buzzwords in
Yeah.
front of someone who is like a
Right.
little bit more left wing and kind of hates, is a little bit wary of the right. And I just keep jiggling those keys in front of them. Hopefully they'll join my side and they're like, oh yeah, you're right. You agree with me, right? And like, don't look too deeper. You just like glance over the article, right? Yeah, you're on my side. That's what I get from this. Of like, if you actually take like a second to read this, and if you're like an actually like someone who's willing to, and I want to be like, yeah, I'm trying my best, not too harsh, but like like a bit of like an actual thinker yourself, someone that actually is able to make
Yeah, you should be harsh. I mean,
rational decisions on your own and think,
fuck
well,
Bajit Big
I
Bongs or
I
Bing
I
Bongs.
I
Big
love
Bongs.
I actually like firearms, but maybe I'm more left wing, and maybe I am more of a I'm more of like a DIY guy myself. Like you're jiggling the words fascist and incel and Nazi in front of my face. It doesn't necessarily invoke like the anger and rage that you're trying to get from me, because that's what like I'm getting from this is like you are trying to jiggle keys. Like it's like literally jiggling keys in front of a child. Of like, oh, you're left wing. Well, here's the word Nazi and incel and bigot and all these other things. You want to agree with me, right? And that's what I get from this article. It's like you're just jingling the right buzzwords.
True.
But for me, like obviously the big thing that's more interesting for me is that they brought up the parrot letter, which is a very very niche thing, a very very niche,
very niche. Right,
and
that's right.
It did, in all honesty, it is a true controversy of our community in that regard. Of that way,
it is. Agreed.
And that's sort of one of the things that he always would bring up too. Is that it is his controversy, if anything, is that it is a uniquely American thing to have parts kits. And when you take a step back and you think about it, it is true. And of course, we have our opinions, and you've already said it too. But like when you think of, and when you just, if you were to just take a step back and think in like Parrot's perspective, you understand where he's coming from. And in all honesty, it is a controversy, but like I bet you yourself can also see where he's coming from too, right?
No, I can't. Absolutely. I
and
mean,
that's sort of it, right?
It's
and
just there's some context to
of course
what he's talking about.
And
but
like
I agree.
And that's the thing, world, right?
Everybody be making a DIY 9mm, but
and that's the thing. Yeah,
we don't live in that perfect world.
Yeah, and that's the thing, and like that's where that in all honesty, if we were to boil down that entire controversy into like a quick second, that's it. Of like he understood it too. He like, and when I talked to him about it too, he understand. Like when I remember I told him explicitly like, but like would you rather like, because he knew me, I'm not a great. He helped me a little bit with like CAD work and stuff, and that's another thing altogether. But like. I was like, well, would you rather someone like me who doesn't know CAD work do nothing, or would you rather me do something? And he was like, well, of course. Well, I'd rather you do something. And yeah, that's sort of it. Of like if you are watching this and you're in the US and you just want to like make something and you just want to work something, of course, the Gun Academy is a great place to go for you in that regard. I'm sure UberClay will help you out too. You can be sure he said, oh, I watched that stream with you guys. In that case, I bet he'll be even more helpful. But, it's that type of a thing of like, people in this community do want to help you, and we do want you to flourish, and CAD work is, in my experience, inherently difficult if you have no knowledge of it. And just getting that, once you get those like basics kind of like thrown at you and you figure out some minor things, it becomes a lot easier. And then you can kind of figure out what you're doing from there. But it's the initial guidance
True.
that matters the most. Of like when I first downloaded my first CAD software and I had to do something, I had no idea what I was doing, and I genuinely needed help. I've done CAD work for other things that are not firearms at all. I've not published a single thing that's firearm related. But that sort of like, well, if you can figure out how to make CAD work for other things, you can figure out how to make a firearm pretty quickly. I'm just gonna say that.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And if you are listening to this as like an aspiring, engineer, you're right now a freshman in college. You got that you got that free SolidWorks, like you got that free SolidWorks membership. You're a freshman in college. You're an engineer, and you can do whatever you want. There is no shame in just making like fucking cubes and spheres and all these other things. One of the tips I was taught by someone in this community was like, grab a soda can, get some calipers, and just recreate your soda can that you got in CAD work. And,
yeah, I mean that's actually pretty good advice.
And like when you do that, you figure out, okay, here's how cylindrical stuff works. And like once you figure, it's one of those things where it's like really helpful. It's such a trust me, when I was told that, I wanted to tell them to go fuck themselves to their face. I wanted to go say like, I'm gonna fucking murder you. But that being said, though, I did it though. I did actually do it, and then I realized like, oh wait, when I learned how to make like solid circles, I can make other things. I can make wheels. And that actually did help me out a lot in what I needed CAD work for. And
yeah,
I'm
man,
very, very grateful for the person for doing that. And that's one of those things where I mean by, again, CAD work is very useful in that regard. And that's why I'm very glad. Actually, again, I'm probably the one thing that I'm sober enough to say that I am glad I forced myself to remember more than anything else was to make sure you could pimp out your I guess your CAD, your Gun and CAD University when this thing started.
I mean, that's one of the reasons, when I was coming up, it was really hard for me to find help and get kind of any kind of instruction on how I could level up my CAD. And the reason that I participate in Gun Academy is because that was the primary resource that I could find. That was like the one place that I could turn to, Unseen Killer and at that time JP, that were willing to put the time and investment into, where I was at to try to level me up. And so, that's why I show up to teach, is because if it wasn't for those guys, I would probably not be where I am today, in CAD knowledge and dev knowledge. And so, what we want to do is be able to pass that that experience on. And back when I was coming up, man, like it was a lot of gatekeeping, there's a lot of like, nobody wants to help the new guy. I really don't want that to be the case today. So if you're trying to figure CAD out, you're trying to figure Fusion out, Gun Academy is the place for you. And you can come ask questions and participate. It's not going to happen overnight, but if you keep coming back, you can expect that eventually you will be proficient. And that's how we level up our community. That's how we discover innovation as a group as a whole. Is we have to keep a pipeline of new devs, and we have to keep a pipeline of aspiring contributors, right? And if that didn't exist, we would die. So and that's not just for any particular group, but as a community as a whole. I think it's important. And it doesn't matter where you're from. CAD, drawing something in CAD, if you're in fucking Brazil as opposed to the United States, it's the same. It doesn't start to get consequential until you print it. So, if you want to if you're abroad and you want to participate, I don't think there's anything that could prevent you from refining those skills.
And I'll say with that, I think you know what, we've reached a good right. We've had our wholesome, learn how to CAD thing, but
Yeah, absolutely.
everyone that showed up, most importantly, fuck journalists. But aside from that,
Oh,
in all honesty, again,
absolutely.
you can read the Jay Stark and Parrot and stuff. Cool. If anything, take this as some notes of things of what your OPSEC and everything is. Because in all honesty, again, I could give a shit less of anything with Jay Stark, who whatever he crap. The point is what he did and released. And same with Parrot as well. Parrot was better about what he decided to release about himself and everything. In that regard, if you can just be some dude who just like Immortal Revolt who just drops the fucking rebel mind and shit. We noticed how there was nothing about Immortal Revolt being some weird incel or whatever crap it is. Because you know what? I don't know shit about anything about Immortal Revolt except he makes cool fucking designs and shit. Now, there, of course, are some personal anecdotes that people talk to me about things, and usually and those personal anecdotes usually involve him being rather reserved and not talking about himself ever. Him just being really passionate about gun designs. So, those are the minor things you should keep in mind in that regard of what you want to do. You'd want to say what you don't want to say. And, I will say this. I'll say what I'm going to say to close things off, but and this is something I do just want to be said and want to be known. And if you heard anything I said and you hate what I have to say or dislike what I say, hopefully you would agree with this. Of ultimately, the designs you do will speak more than anything else you've ever said or done, in that your designs will last well beyond you, if anything. And I mean, we are right now witnessing this with Stark himself. His design of the FGC9 and the market specifically was a foundation for a lot of people, and it went to ways that are honestly unrecognizable from the original C9. And that is the most important part, is can you do something that's so unique, so different, that you do stand on your own? And what niche can you fit? And honestly, that's the biggest thing, is think of the niche you want to fit, and how are you going to do about it? Because Stark's whole thing was people in other countries. Can you do that? But go ahead. I want you to say what you say.
I mean, that is a great point, is that, the FGC9, it was not the most elaborate, intense design ever. However, it had the most impact of anything we've ever had. So, what is your, like, if you're going to bring something to the table, I encourage you to endeavor to have the same impact as the FGC9. I guess the other thing was I don't know. I was going to shit talk the other stuff, but I can't even remember what it was.
It's
guys,
all for the best. In that case, we can close it out for tonight. In that case, before we go too far down the rabbit hole, we can just say, "And good night, everyone." But go if it's something very specific. Well, I mean, I'm gonna again. I'll pitch again for you. I mean, I will say this: the beta video will be. We record this in a few days. But aside from that, again, I like what you and Unseen are doing with the Gun Academy stuff. Again, I think fewer developers, people that are again, my life has started this channel, but guys who are just getting into college right now, if you're a freshman in college and you just got that free SolidWorks, license and everything, you have so much more going. And if you specifically love the firearms industry, or not even that, just find it as a fun little hobby to drop into, it is no better of a time than to start. Especially Muslim. This is better than when we started off with the fucking pandemic. But
True.
there are people that are willing to help you, and it'd be foolish to say that to not take advantage of it.
Nathan Mayer is a huge faggot, and fuck Cody Wilson.
Well,
that's all I got to say.
And that's a wonderful night. So I will say my good nights to that, and I will end the stream now, and I will wish you all a wonderful, happy Halloween. And